a scientific mistake, a dangerous crime, and the woman who corrected it will pay with her life. Tonight, in a city where power is measured in blood and silence, Dr. Alara Voss made the mistake that would either kill her or crown her. She wasn't supposed to speak. She wasn't supposed to see. But when a disgraced chemist recognizes a deadly forgery at a crime lord's table, staying quiet isn't an option. What happens next will reshape the underworld forever. If you're watching from your city, drop a comment below and hit that like button. Let's see how far this story reaches across the world. Now, let's begin. The rain hit Chicago like bullets that night, sharp, cold, unforgiving. It hammered the windows of Aurelius, the kind of restaurant where the wine list had no prices and the guest list had no tourists. Inside, the air was thick with cigar smoke and expensive cologne. Crystal chandeliers dripped light across mahogany tables. Waiters moved like shadows, trained never to make eye contact, never to speak unless spoken to. Alara Voss moved among them with her head down and her shoulders tight. The uniform didn't fit right. Black slacks a size too large, white button-down that gaped at the collar. Her hands, scarred from years of lab work, trembled as she balanced a tray of empty glasses. She'd been doing this for 6 months now, 6 months since her world collapsed. 6 months since her name became mud in every research institution that mattered. She wasn't supposed to be here. 3 years ago, she'd been publishing in Nature, presenting at international conferences, on track for tenure at one of the country's top universities. Then Dr. Marcus Chen, her mentor, her collaborator, the man she'd trusted with everything, had stolen her research, published it under his name, and when she fought back, he'd buried her, fabricated ethics violations, forged lab reports. By the time the dust settled, she had no job, no reputation, and legal bills that would take a decade to pay off. Now she cleared tables for men who didn't see her face. The back room was different from the main dining area. No windows. One entrance. The walls were covered in burgundy velvet that swallowed sound. When the door closed, the room became a vault. Tonight, it held 6 men and enough combined wealth to buy a small nation. Adrian Cade sat at the head of the table. He was 38, but looked older in the way men do when they carry weight that has nothing to do with age. Broad-shouldered, dark-haired, with a face that was handsome in a brutal sort of way, sharp jaw, deeper-set eyes that missed nothing. He wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Alara made in a year. No jewelry except a watch. No obvious weapons. He didn't need them. The 2 men flanking him were weapons enough. To his right sat Marcus Reeves, his lawyer, mid-50s, silver hair, the kind of face that smiled in courtrooms and never meant it. To his left was Cole, head of security, 6'4" and silent as a grave. Across the table were the guests. Victor Hale, a broker from New York with slicked back hair and a smile full of veneers. His associate, a nervous accountant named Brennan, and a technical consultant Alara didn't recognize, pale and sweating despite the air conditioning. She'd already made 3 trips into the room. Each time she kept her eyes down, set down plates, picked up empties, vanished. The 4th time, she brought the cognac. "Gentlemen," Victor was saying as she entered, "I assure you the formula is authentic. My chemist has verified every component." "Your chemist." Cade's voice was low, almost soft. That was the dangerous thing about him. He never raised his voice. "The one who isn't here." "He's based in Berlin. The documentation is all I don't pay for documentation, Victor. I pay for results." Alara set down the cognac bottle with hands that didn't shake anymore. Muscle memory. You learned fast in this job not to spill. She turned to leave. That's when she saw it. The tablet on the table, angled toward Cade. On the screen, a molecular structure. Complex, branching, the kind of compound that took years to synthesize. She'd seen thousands of these, studied them, built them, and this one was wrong. She stopped. It was a small thing, a substituent in the wrong position, a bond angle that didn't make sense. To anyone else, it would look fine, impressive even. But Alara had spent 4 years of her life developing this exact class of compounds. She knew the architecture like she knew her own pulse. This wasn't just wrong. It was catastrophically wrong. Unstable, dangerous, worth nothing. The words left her mouth before her brain caught up. That's the wrong compound. The room didn't just go quiet. It went dead. Every head turned. Cade's eyes locked onto her with the focus of a predator spotting movement in tall grass. Victor's smile froze. Cole's hand drifted toward his jacket. Alara's heart tried to hammer its way out of her chest. "Excuse me?" Cade's voice was still soft. Somehow, that made it worse. She should apologize, bow her head, back out of the room, and pray they forgot her face. That's what any sane person would do. Instead, she heard herself say, "The molecular structure on your screen, it's wrong." Victor stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. "Who the hell is this?" "One of the staff," Marcus said, frowning. "She needs to leave, now." Victor's face had gone red. "This is a confidential—" "Wait." Cade held up one hand. Victor shut up instantly. Cade's eyes never left Alara. "Wrong how?" Her mouth was dry. The room felt too small, too hot. She could feel Cole watching her the way a wolf watches a rabbit. "The tertiary carbon substitution," she said. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. "It's in the wrong position. That compound wouldn't be stable. The bond angles would create internal strain. It would decompose within 72 hours, probably less depending on storage conditions." Silence. Victor laughed. It sounded forced. "Mr. Cade, I apologize for this interruption. Obviously, this woman doesn't know what she's—" "She used technical terminology," Cade said quietly. "Correctly." He leaned back in his chair, studying Alara like she was something he'd found under a microscope. "You have a chemistry background." It wasn't a question. "I used to," Alara said. "Used to. I worked in synthetic organic chemistry, pharmaceutical development. And now you work here." "Yes." "Why?" The question hung in the air. Alara felt her fingernails digging into her palms. "That's not relevant to—" "Answer the question." There was no warmth in his voice, no curiosity, just command. "I was blacklisted," she said. "Couldn't get hired anywhere else." "For what?" "For being right when someone more powerful wanted me to be wrong." Something flickered in Cade's eyes. Not sympathy, interest. He turned to Victor. "Your chemist verified this formula?" "Of course. Dr. Herman is one of the leading—" "Get him on the phone." "It's 3 a.m. in Berlin." "Then wake him up." Victor's jaw tightened. He pulled out his phone, fingers jabbing at the screen. The room waited. Alara's legs felt like water. She should leave. She should run. But Cole was standing now, positioned between her and the door, and running seemed like a very bad idea. The phone rang on speaker. Once, twice. On the 4th ring, a groggy voice answered in German-accented English. "Hale? What is it?" "Herman, I need you to confirm the molecular structure we discussed. The tertiary carbon substitution. Where is it positioned?" A pause. Papers rustling. Then, "Position? Ah, C7. You're certain?" "Of course. That is what I sent you." Cade picked up the tablet, turned it so Victor could see. "This shows it at C5. Another pause, longer this time. "That is not possible. I sent C7. Let me check my files. Hold on." The sound of keyboard clicking came through the speaker. Alara watched Victor's face drain of color. There is some error in transmission," Herman said finally. His voice had gone thin. "The file you have is corrupted. I will resend immediately." "Don't bother," Cade said. He ended the call. Victor opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. "This is a simple mistake, a file error. The actual compound is $100 million, Cade said. "That's what you're asking for this formula. And you didn't even verify the file before flying here." "Mr. Cade, I assure you, you assured me the formula was authenticated. It wasn't. You assured me your chemist verified every component. He didn't. What else are you assuring me that isn't true?" Victor's hands were shaking now. "I can have the correct file here in an hour, 2 hours. We can still—" "We're done. Please, I've invested everything into—" "Marcus," Cade said, "draw up the termination paperwork." The lawyer was already opening his briefcase. Victor looked around the table like a drowning man searching for driftwood. His associate had gone white. The technical consultant was studying his hands. No help anywhere. "You can't do this," Victor said. His voice cracked. "I have contracts. Agreements. With performance clauses," Marcus said pleasantly. which you've just violated. I'll sue. You'll leave. Cade stood. The meeting was over. Cole will show you out. Cole moved around the table with the unhurried confidence of a man who'd done this 1,000 times. Victor and his people went, one hand on each of their shoulders, firm enough to communicate that resistance wasn't an option. The door closed. Cade turned to Alara. She'd been hoping he'd forgotten about her. Stupid hope. You, he said. Sit. She sat. Up close, Cade was even more unsettling. His eyes were gray, the color of winter oceans. They took her apart piece by piece, calculating, measuring, deciding. What's your name? Alara Voss. Dr. Voss? Not anymore. I lost my PhD when they revoked my credentials. They? She took a breath. The university. My former mentor falsified evidence that I'd committed research fraud. By the time I could fight back, my reputation was destroyed. Why didn't you fight harder? I tried. For a year. Lawyers are expensive. Defamation cases are nearly impossible to win. Eventually, you run out of money and time and hope. Cade poured himself cognac. Didn't offer her any. And now you're waiting tables. Yes. That formula on the screen. You recognized it. I should. I invented it. That got his attention. His hand paused halfway to his mouth. Explain. 4 years ago, I was developing a new class of synthetic compounds for pharmaceutical applications. That structure, the correct version, was the breakthrough. My mentor, Dr. Marcus Chen, stole my research before I could publish. He filed patents in his name. When I fought back, he destroyed my career to cover his tracks. And this Victor Hale? He must have bought the formula from Chen, or someone Chen sold it to. But he got a corrupted file, or a fake, or... I don't know. What I do know is that compound wouldn't work. Cade set down his glass. What would it do? Best case? Nothing. Worst case? Degrade into toxic byproducts. Depends on the application. The application is private. I assumed. You assumed correctly. He studied her for another long moment. Alara felt like a specimen on a slide. You saved me $100 million tonight, Cade said finally. I didn't mean to. But you did. He leaned back. That creates a problem. Her stomach dropped. What kind of problem? You know too much. You've seen my face, heard this conversation, identified a formula I was purchasing. In my line of work, that's called a liability. I won't tell anyone. I don't even know what the formula is for. No. But you could find out. And even if you didn't, Victor Hale now knows someone in this restaurant recognized his fraud. He's not a forgiving man. I didn't give him my name. You think that matters? He saw your face. By tomorrow morning, he'll know who you are, where you live, and how to reach you. Cade's voice was clinical, like he was describing weather patterns. He's lost a fortune because of you. Men like Victor don't let that slide. Fear tasted like copper on her tongue. What are you saying? I'm saying you have two choices. 1. You walk out of here, go home, hope Victor doesn't find you before I clean up this mess. That's a gamble. Maybe you get lucky. Probably you don't. And 2, you work for me. Alara stared at him. Doing what? What you're good at. Chemistry. I need that formula, the real one. You're going to recreate it. I don't have my research. Chen took everything. You built it once. You can build it again. That took 4 years in a fully equipped lab with a research team. I'll give you a lab. Equipment, whatever you need. And if I say no? Cade didn't answer. He didn't have to. The silence said it all. Alara's hands were shaking again. She pressed them flat against her thighs. You're threatening me. I'm offering you protection, a lab, resources. And when this is done, I'll give you something else. What? Revenge. The word hung in the air like smoke. Marcus Chen destroyed your life, Cade said. Took your work, your reputation, your future. How would you like to take it all back? Something hot and vicious uncurled in Alara's chest. You can't touch him. He's protected by the university, by... I can touch anyone. Cade's voice was flat, certain. Give me the formula, and I'll bury Chen so deep he'll forget what sunlight looks like. Your name will be cleared, your work restored. Everything he took from you, you'll get back. It was insane. She should refuse, walk away, go to the police, except the police wouldn't protect her from Victor, and they definitely wouldn't help her against Chen. She'd tried the legal route. It had chewed her up and spit her out. This man, this criminal, was offering her a second chance, a dangerous one, maybe a fatal one. But a chance. "How do I know you'll keep your word?" she asked. "You don't." Cade stood. "But right now, I'm the only friend you have." Friend. The word was laughable, but he wasn't wrong about the rest. "I need time to think." "You have 30 seconds. That's not 25 on." Elara's mind raced. Her apartment was a studio in a bad neighborhood with locks that barely worked. She had $200 in the bank, no family, no friends who'd risk helping her. And somewhere in this city, Victor Hale was making phone calls, and men were getting ready to move. 15. She thought about Marcus Chen's face on the cover of Science Today, about the awards ceremony where he'd thanked his dedicated team without mentioning her name once, about the dean who'd looked her in the eye and said there was nothing they could do, her word against his. 5. Elara took a breath. "Okay." Cade nodded once. "Smart choice." He pulled out his phone, sent a text. "Cole will take you somewhere safe tonight. Tomorrow, we'll set you up properly. Lab, apartment, security. What about my things?" "Already being collected." She blinked. "How did you—" "I had someone check your employee file the moment you corrected me. Your address is on record." He said it like it was obvious, like having people who could mobilize that fast was normal. The door opened. Cole stood there, silent and massive. "One more thing," Cade said. "From this moment on, you're under my protection. That means you're also under my rules. You don't leave the city. You don't contact anyone from your old life. You don't talk to police, reporters, or anyone else without clearing it with me first. You work on the formula and nothing else. Understood?" Elara's throat was tight. "Understood." "Good." He turned back to his tablet. The dismissal was clear. Cole gestured toward the door. Elara stood on legs that didn't feel entirely solid. She followed him out of the velvet room, through the restaurant where waiters still moved like shadows, into the rain-hammered night. A black car waited at the curb. Cole opened the back door. Elara got in. The interior smelled like leather and gun oil. The driver didn't turn around, didn't speak. Cole got in beside her, filling the space with his presence. The car pulled away from Aurelius. Elara watched the city slide past the window, lights blurring in the rain, streets she'd walked 1,000 times, suddenly looking foreign. She'd lived here for 8 years, built a life, lost it, built something smaller, lost that too. Now she was in a car with men she didn't know, heading to a place she'd never been, about to work for someone who operated outside every law that mattered. She should be terrified. She was terrified. But underneath the fear was something else, something she hadn't felt in 6 months. Purpose. Her hands had stopped shaking. The safe house was a penthouse in the Gold Coast, all windows and hardwood and furniture that looked expensive because it was. Cole led her inside, checked every room with mechanical efficiency, then pointed to the bedroom. "Sleep. Someone will be here at 8 to take you to the lab." "Who?" "Does it matter?" He left. Elara stood in the middle of the living room, alone for the first time since the restaurant. The city glittered below, vast and indifferent. She walked to the window, pressed her forehead against the cold glass. What had she just agreed to? She was going to rebuild her life's work for a crime lord. She was going to help a man who probably hurt people for a living. She was going to become complicit in things she didn't want to imagine. And for what? Revenge? No. For survival. For the chance to prove that everything she'd sacrificed hadn't been for nothing. For the possibility, however slim, that maybe, just maybe, she could take back what was stolen. Elara pulled out her phone. 3 missed calls, all from unknown numbers. She turned it off, removed the battery, dropped both on the couch. Then she went into the bedroom and lay down fully clothed on top of the covers. Sleep didn't come. Instead, she stared at the ceiling and thought about molecular structures, about carbon bonds and synthesis pathways, about the formula that had once been her masterpiece and was now her prison. Somewhere in the city, Victor Hale was hunting. Somewhere else, Marcus Chen was sleeping peacefully in a house built on stolen work. And somewhere close by, Adrian Cade was planning his next move. Alara closed her eyes. Tomorrow, she would become someone new. Tonight, she would mourn who she used to be. Taktan. The knock came at exactly 8 a.m. Alara had been awake for hours, showered in a bathroom stocked with toiletries she didn't recognize, wearing the same clothes from yesterday because nothing else was here yet. She opened the door. A woman stood there. Early 30s, dark hair pulled back, dressed in a black pantsuit that meant business. Sharp eyes that cataloged Alara in 2 seconds flat. Dr. Voss, I'm Nina Cross. Mr. Cade sent me. To do what? Get you set up. Lab, equipment, security protocols. We have a lot to cover. Nina didn't wait for an invitation. She walked in, set a leather portfolio on the dining table, opened it. First, your new phone. She handed over a sleek device. Encrypted. Only 3 numbers programmed in. Mine, Mr. Cade's, and Cole's. Don't call anyone else. Alara took the phone. What about my old one? Already destroyed. You could have asked. No, I couldn't. Nina pulled out a tablet. Second, your apartment. 2 bedrooms, secure building, 15th floor. I'll take you there after we finish at the lab. Where's the lab? Industrial district, old pharmaceutical building. Renovated. By renovated, you mean? I mean, it has everything you'll need and nothing you can trace. The property's held through shell companies, triple layered. Even if someone found it, they couldn't connect it to Mr. Cade. Alara sat down slowly. You do this often? Set people up? Nina's expression didn't change. Mr. Cade invests in talent. I facilitate those investments. Is that what I am? An investment? You're whatever you prove yourself to be. Fair enough. They spent the next hour going over protocols, security, communications, supply chains. Nina had thought of everything, or Cade had, and she was executing. By the time they finished, Alara's head was spinning. Any questions? Nina asked. When do I start work? Today. As soon as we get to the lab. Nina closed the portfolio. Mr. Cade wants progress reports every 48 hours. If you need anything, materials, equipment, consultation, you tell me. I'll make it happen. And if I can't recreate the formula? Nina's eyes were flat. That's not an option you want to explore. The lab was perfect. That was the first thing Alara thought when Nina led her through the security doors into the converted pharmaceutical facility. Perfect and terrifying. The space was huge, easily 2,000 square feet. Clean room protocols, state-of-the-art ventilation, synthesis stations with equipment she'd only dreamed about in academia, mass spectrometers, NMR machines, a chromatography setup that must have cost $500,000 alone. In the corner, a glass-walled office with a desk and computer. This is mine? Alara's voice came out small. This is yours, Nina confirmed. There's a full inventory in the system. If something's missing, let me know. Alara walked between the workstations, trailing her fingers along the counters. She hadn't been in a real lab in 6 months, hadn't touched research-grade equipment in longer. It felt like coming home to a house that had been sold to strangers. One more thing, Nina said. She gestured to a man standing by the entrance, early 20s, built like he knew his way around a gym, trying to look casual and failing. This is Marcus. He'll be stationed outside during work hours. Security? Your safety is Mr. Cade's priority. We're making sure I don't run. Nina didn't deny it. Both can be true. After Nina left, Alara stood in the middle of her new laboratory and tried to process the last 12 hours. Yesterday morning, she'd been a waitress with no future. Now she had a lab, an apartment, protection, and a deadline she didn't know but could feel ticking. She walked to the computer, logged in with the credentials Nina had provided. The system was clean, no internet access, no outside connections. A closed loop. Smart. Alara opened a new file and started writing. Yike. Synthesis notes. Day 1. Compound. Modified heterocyclic structure. Original development, 2019 to 2022. Current status. Recreation from memory. She worked through the night. The formula had been her obsession for 4 years. She dreamed about it, woke up thinking about it, scribbled notes on napkins when inspiration hit at 3 a.m. Some researchers documented everything. Alara had lived it. Now she poured that memory onto the screen. Synthesis pathways. Reagent lists. temperature protocols. The broad strokes came easily. The details were harder. There had been hundreds of failed attempts, small adjustments, moments of breakthrough that seemed obvious in hindsight but had taken months to achieve. She didn't have months. By the time Marcus knocked to say his shift was ending, Alara had the first 2 stages mapped out. Rough, incomplete, but a start. "You need anything?" Marcus asked. He looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure what to do with a scientist. "Coffee," Alara said, "and time." "Can't help with the second one. Coffee machines by the break room." He left. His replacement, a woman named Torres, took position outside. Alara made coffee that tasted like battery acid and went back to work. 48 hours later, Nina returned for the first progress report. Alara had slept maybe 4 hours total. Her eyes burned, her back ached from hunching over the computer. But she had something to show. "The synthesis has 6 major stages," she explained, pulling up her notes. "I've mapped out the first 4. The 5th is the critical step, where the original formula diverged from standard methodology. That's also where I'm stuck." Nina reviewed the screen without comment. "What do you need?" "Access to literature databases, or consultation with someone who specializes in heterocyclic chemistry. No outside contact. Then I need time to work through it myself." "How much time?" 2 weeks, maybe 3. Nina made a note. "I'll inform Mr. Cade." "Anything else?" "Yeah, why does he want this formula? What's it for?" "That's not your concern." "I'm building it. That makes it my concern." Nina looked up. Her expression was carefully neutral. "Dr. Voss, you're very smart. Smart enough to know that some questions don't have safe answers. Focus on the chemistry. Leave the business to Mr. Cade." She left before Alara could argue. Busy. 3 days became 5. 5 became 10. The lab became Alara's entire world. She barely saw her apartment, barely slept. The synthesis consumed her the way it had the first time, all-encompassing, demanding, relentless. The difference was that now she was working alone. No graduate students to double-check her math. No lab meetings to brainstorm solutions. No Marcus Chen looking over her shoulder. Actually, that last part was better. On day 12, she had a breakthrough. It came at 2 in the morning, staring at failed reaction data from the day before. The problem wasn't the catalyst like she'd thought. It was the solvent ratio. She'd been using the wrong proportions, too conservative, trying to minimize side reactions. But this compound needed aggression, needed to be pushed. She ran the reaction again with adjusted parameters. 3 hours later, the mass spec data came back. 73% yield, clean product, minimal impurities. Alara stared at the readout until her vision blurred. She'd done it. Stage 5 was complete. Cade came to the lab the next morning. Alara was running confirmation tests when Nina walked in with him. She looked up, startled. He'd never visited before, had gotten all his updates through Nina. "Dr. Voss," he said, "I hear you made progress. Stage 5 is complete. Stage 6 should be straightforward. Another week, maybe less." "Show me." She walked him through the data, explaining the synthesis pathway, the breakthrough, the projected timeline. He listened without interrupting, those gray eyes taking in everything. When she finished, he nodded once. "Good work." "That's it? Good work? What else would you like?" "I don't know. Some indication of what I'm building? Why this formula is worth $100 million? You know the chemistry. That's what matters. To you, maybe. To me, it matters what this gets used for." Cade's expression didn't change. "You want ethics now? After 12 days of working on it without asking?" He wasn't wrong. Alara looked away. "The compound has pharmaceutical applications," Cade said. "That's all you need to know." "Pharmaceutical applications that required buying it on the black market?" "The patent system is complicated. Sometimes faster routes exist." "You mean illegal routes?" "I mean practical ones." He moved closer. Not threatening exactly, but deliberate. "You wanted revenge on Marcus Chen. You wanted your life back. That requires leverage. This formula is leverage. Are you having second thoughts?" Was she? Alara thought about the last 6 months. The shame, the isolation, the nights staring at her ceiling, wondering if it would have been easier to just give up. She thought about Chen's face. "No," she said. "No second thoughts." Then finish the work. When it's done, I'll keep my end of the bargain." He left. Nina lingered. "He's pleased with your progress. He has a funny way of showing it. Mr. Cade doesn't do praise, but he pays well and keeps his promises. That's better than praise." "Is it?" Nina's smile was thin. "In this world, yes." Nice. Stage 6 took 8 days. It should have taken 3, but Alara pushed herself too hard and made stupid mistakes. Contaminated a batch, used the wrong temperature, forgot to calibrate the pH meter. Exhaustion made her sloppy. On day 20, she forced herself to sleep for 12 hours straight. On day 21, she came back sharp. The final synthesis was elegant. All the earlier stages fed into this one, a cascade of reactions that transformed simple starting materials into something complex and powerful. Alara worked with the careful precision of a surgeon, measuring, mixing, monitoring. 48 hours later, she had the final product, pure, verified, perfect. She stared at the vial in her hands, 5 grams of white crystalline powder that represented 4 years of her life, plus 3 weeks of frantic recreation. Her masterpiece, her prison, her ticket to revenge. Alara set down the vial and picked up the phone. Nina answered on the first ring. "Status? It's done." Cade arrived within the hour. He came alone this time. No Nina, no Cole. Just him in another expensive suit, looking like he'd stepped out of a boardroom rather than whatever criminal enterprise he actually ran. Alara handed him the vial. He held it up to the light, watching the crystals refract. "This is it?" "That's it. I've included full synthesis documentation, spectral data, and purity analysis. Everything you need to reproduce it or verify its authenticity." "You've tested it?" "Against my original standards. It's identical." Cade pocketed the vial. "Excellent work, Dr. Voss." "So now what?" "Now we move to phase 2. Something in his tone made Alara's stomach tighten. "Which is?" "Securing the market. I have buyers lined up, but they'll want verification from the original creator. That's you." "You want me to meet them?" "I want you to prove this formula works. Demonstrate its applications. Answer their technical questions." "I told you, I don't know what it's being used for." "You're about to find out." Cade's smile was slight, cold. "Tomorrow night, formal dinner, potential clients. You'll present the compound, explain its properties, and convince them it's worth their investment." "I'm not a salesperson." "You're a scientist. Sell the science." Alara wanted to argue, but she'd known from the beginning this wasn't just about building a formula. Cade was using her. The only question was how far he'd push. "What if I say no?" she asked quietly. "You won't." "You sound certain." "I am. Because tomorrow night, Marcus Chen will be there." The world tilted. "What?" "He's one of the potential buyers. Apparently, he's been trying to commercialize his version, your version, without success. Something about degradation issues." Cade's eyes glittered. "You'll have a chance to confront him, in front of witnesses, with me backing you." Alara's heart was hammering. "You planned this." "I told you I'd give you revenge. Did you think I was speaking hypothetically?" She didn't know what to think. Her mind was spinning, anger and anticipation and fear all tangling together. "Where's this dinner?" "The Blackwell Hotel, private dining room. 8 p.m. Nina will bring you appropriate attire." "And Chen, does he know I'll be there?" "Not yet. That's part of the surprise." Cade moved toward the door, then paused. "One more thing. Victor Hale will also be attending." Alara's blood went cold. "The man who wanted to kill me?" "He's since learned you're under my protection. But yes, he'll be there. And he'll be watching." Cade's voice was calm, almost conversational. "This dinner is a test, Dr. Voss. Can you face the men who destroyed you without falling apart? Can you present your work with confidence? Can you prove you're more than just a chemist? You're an asset. And if I fail, then I've misjudged you." He left her standing in the lab, alone with her thoughts and the terrible understanding that tomorrow night everything would change. Either she would reclaim her life, or lose what little remained of it. Alara looked at the empty space where the vial had been. 21 days ago, she'd been serving drinks. Now she was walking into a room full of predators with nothing but her knowledge and a crime lord's promise. She should be terrified. She was terrified. But underneath the fear was something harder, sharper. Marcus Chen had taken everything from her. Tomorrow night, she was going to take it all back, or die trying. The dress Nina brought was black silk, cut to intimidate rather than seduce. Clean lines. No jewelry except small diamond studs that probably cost more than Alara's entire wardrobe from her previous life. Heels that added 3 inches and made her calves ache after 5 minutes. "You look the part," Nina said, circling her like a designer inspecting a mannequin. "What part is that?" "Someone who belongs in that room." Alara studied herself in the mirror. The woman staring back looked polished, controlled, nothing like the terrified waitress who'd corrected a crime lord 3 weeks ago. The transformation was surface deep, though. Underneath the silk, her heart was trying to punch through her ribs. "Tell me about the room," she said. "Who else will be there besides Chen and Hale?" Nina pulled out her tablet. 6 buyers total. Chen, you know. Hale, you know. The others? Dmitry Volkov, Russian pharmaceutical entrepreneur with ties to Eastern European distribution networks. Senator Patricia Gaines, invested in biotech through shell companies. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, independent researcher with connections to Asian markets. And Matteo Rizzo. The way Nina said that last name made Alara look up. Who's Rizzo? The reason this dinner matters. Nina's expression was carefully neutral. He controls significant territory, imports, exports, legitimate businesses that move illegitimate products. If Rizzo backs this formula, everyone else falls in line. If he doesn't, then what? Then Mr. Cade has a problem, and when he has a problem, everyone around him has a bigger one. Fantastic. The car ride to the Blackwell Hotel took 20 minutes through rain-slick streets. Cole drove. Nina sat beside Alara and back, doing something on her tablet that looked important and probably was. Neither spoke. Alara watched the city slide past and tried to remember how to breathe. She'd prepared. Spent the afternoon reviewing her notes, rehearsing explanations, anticipating questions. She knew this compound better than anyone alive. The chemistry was solid. The data was irrefutable. But science wasn't what terrified her. Facing Marcus Chen again, that's what made her hands shake. 3 years. 3 years since she'd seen him in person. The last time had been in the dean's office, Chen looking gravely disappointed while explaining to the committee that Dr. Voss had always been brilliant but unstable, prone to cutting corners, and he'd tried to protect her, but the evidence was damning. His voice had been so sincere, his face so perfectly calibrated between sadness and professional duty. She'd wanted to kill him then. The feeling hadn't diminished. "We're here," Cole said. The Blackwell Hotel rose above them, old money architecture, the kind of building that had hosted presidents and criminals with equal discretion. Doormen in crisp uniforms, marble steps leading to brass doors that probably weighed more than Alara. They entered through a side entrance. No lobby, no witnesses. A private elevator took them to the 8th floor. The hallway was empty except for 2 men in dark suits stationed outside ornate double doors. Cade's people. One of them nodded to Nina, opened the door. The dining room beyond was smaller than Alara expected. Intimate. A single long table set for 8, crystal glasses catching candlelight, the kind of place where deals got made and bodies got buried, sometimes metaphorically, sometimes not. 6 people were already seated. Alara recognized Victor Hale immediately. He'd aged badly in 3 weeks. New lines around his mouth, shadows under his eyes. When he saw her, something flickered across his face. Not quite fear, not quite anger, something in between. Next to him sat a woman in her 50s with severe features and expensive jewelry. Senator Gaines, probably. Across from them, a broad-shouldered man with Slavic features and cold eyes. Volkov. A smaller woman with delicate hands and sharp intelligence radiating from every gesture. Tanaka. At the head of the table sat a man who could only be Matteo Rizzo. Mid-60s, silver-haired, dressed in a suit that managed to look both elegant and dangerous. He watched Alara enter with the focused attention of a shark sensing blood in the water. And at the far end, reviewing something on his phone, was Marcus Chen. He looked exactly the same. Same styled hair, same designer glasses, same aura of comfortable success. 52 years old and wearing it well. No stress lines, no guilt shadows. Why would there be? In his version of events, he was the victim of a disturbed former student's accusations. He glanced up as Alara entered. For one perfect second, every drop of blood drained from his face. What? His voice cracked. He cleared his throat, tried again. What is she doing here? Good evening, Marcus, Cade said, appearing behind Alara like a shadow-given form. Allow me to introduce Dr. Alara Voss, the actual creator of the formula you've been trying to sell. The room went silent. Chen stood so fast his chair scraped. This is absurd. That woman was discredited years ago. She's a fraud, Careful, Cade said softly. You're in my house now. Choose your words with precision. Chen's jaw worked. He looked around the table, searching for support. Found none. Senator Gaines was watching with narrow-eyed interest. Volkov looked amused. Tanaka had gone very still. Rizzo simply waited, expression unreadable. Hale broke the silence. Mr. Cade, I was told this meeting would be conducted professionally. Having this woman here is necessary, Cade finished. Sit down, Victor, both of you. Something in his voice made it not a suggestion. Chen sat. Hale sat. Cade pulled out a chair for Alara. She took it, grateful her legs still worked. He settled beside her, perfectly relaxed. Nina and Cole took positions by the door. Gentlemen? Ladies? Cade addressed the table. Thank you for coming. I've brought you here to discuss an opportunity. A compound with significant pharmaceutical applications. But before we talk business, let's clear the air. He gestured to Alara. Dr. Voss will explain the compound's history. Pay attention. There will be questions after. All eyes turned to her. Alara's mouth was dry. She reached for the water glass, took a sip, set it down with a hand that only shook a little. The compound in question, she began, is a modified heterocyclic structure I developed between 2019 and 2022 as part of my doctoral and postdoctoral research. The synthesis involves 6 major stages and produces a molecule with unique properties that I'll detail shortly. In early 2023, my research supervisor, Dr. Marcus Chen, filed patents for this work under his own name, claiming sole authorship. That's a lie, Chen said. His voice was tight. The synthesis was collaborative work. Dr. Voss was part of my team, but the breakthrough methodology was mine. Really? Alara turned to face him directly for the first time. God, it felt good. Then explain the stereochemistry of the stage 5 intermediate, the specific catalytic mechanism. Chen's face went red. I don't need to justify my work to you. Can't or won't. This is ridiculous. I have documentation, patents, published papers. You have my documentation, my patents, my papers with your name on them. Alara's voice was steady now, anger burning away the fear. You couldn't synthesize this compound if your life depended on it. That's why you've been selling degraded versions. That's why Victor's formula was corrupted. You never understood the chemistry. You just stole the results. Prove it, Chen spat. Gladly. Alara pulled out a tablet Nina had provided. Here's the original synthesis pathway I developed. Note the stage 5 modification, a novel catalytic approach using a palladium complex with a chiral ligand. This methodology isn't published anywhere. It's not in your patents. It exists only in my original lab notebooks, which you never saw because I kept them separate after I started suspecting you were plagiarizing my work. She brought up spectral data, synthesis timelines, handwritten notes dated 2 years before Chen's patent filing. This is fabricated, Chen said, but his voice lacked conviction. Senator Gaines leaned forward. Dr. Chen, I've funded your research for 18 months. Are you telling me the compound you promised doesn't work? It works. The formula is sound. Then why? Volkov rumbled in accented English. Have 3 separate production attempts failed? Why does product degrade within weeks? Chen's hands clenched. Manufacturing issues. Purity standards. These things take time to... Bullshit, Hale said. The word came out bitter. I lost everything because your formula was garbage. Months of negotiations, millions in prep costs, and you sold me a compound that didn't even match your own documentation. That wasn't my fault. The file transfer must have corrupted, or you never had the real formula to begin with, Tanaka said quietly. Her voice was soft but sharp. Because Dr. Voss is telling the truth. Rizzo had remained silent through all of this, watching with those shark eyes. Now he spoke. Dr. Voss, you can reproduce this compound? The correct version? I already have. Alara nodded to Cade. He produced the vial, set it on the table. The crystals caught candlelight like tiny diamonds. 5 grams of pure product, Cade said, synthesized in 3 weeks from memory. Full documentation included. Stability tested. Verified against original standards. This is what you all thought you were buying from Dr. Chen. This is what you're actually buying from me. Rizzo reached for the vial, examined it, set it down. And Dr. Voss, where does she fit in this arrangement? She's my partner in this venture. Partner. The word sent a chill down Alara's spine. She wasn't Cade's partner. She was his asset, his tool. But in this room, at this moment, the lie served them both. Chen looked like he might vomit. You can't do this. I have legal rights. Patents that will be challenged, Senator Gaines said coldly. If even half of what Dr. Voss claims is true, you've committed fraud on a massive scale. I'll personally ensure the USPTO reviews every patent you've filed. The academic community will also be interested, Tanaka added. Research misconduct, plagiarism. The university will have no choice but to investigate. Chen's face went from red to white. You don't understand. I built my career, my reputation. I can't. You built it on stolen work, Alara said. Her voice was hard. My work, and now everyone knows. The look Chen gave her was pure hatred. For 3 years she'd imagined this moment, confronting him, exposing him, watching his perfect facade crack. The reality was better than any fantasy. Mr. Cade, Rizzo said, the compound's applications. You mentioned pharmaceutical? Among others, Cade gestured to Alara. Dr. Voss will explain. This was it. The sales pitch. The moment where she proved her value or lost everything. Alara took a breath. The compound has 3 primary applications, she began. First, as a precursor for advanced analgesics. The molecular structure allows for modifications that could produce painkillers significantly more effective than current options with reduced addiction potential. Second, as a base for neurological treatments. The heterocyclic framework crosses the blood-brain barrier efficiently, making it ideal for delivering therapeutic agents to neural tissue. Third, she paused. This was the dangerous part. Third, it can be modified to produce compounds with performance-enhancing properties. Cognitive enhancement, endurance, reaction time. Military applications, Volkov said. Not a question. Potentially. Athletic performance, Senator Gaines added, eyes glittering. Competitive advantages. Also potentially. Black market value, Rizzo said softly, would be extraordinary. Cade smiled. Now you understand the opportunity. The conversation shifted then, becoming a negotiation. Pricing, distribution, territorial rights. Alara half listened, her mind still reeling from the confrontation with Chen. He sat at the far end of the table, silent now, looking smaller somehow, diminished. She'd destroyed him. The thought should have felt triumphant. Instead, it felt hollow. Dr. Voss? Rizzo's voice cut through her thoughts. A question. She focused. Yes? This compound, can it be reproduced without you? The question hung in the air, sharp as a blade. Alara glanced at Cade. His expression gave nothing away. The synthesis is complex, she said carefully. The full documentation exists, but the critical stages require expertise. Someone with advanced training could potentially reproduce it, but it would take time and significant trial and error. That's not what I asked. No, Alara admitted. With the complete documentation and sufficient skill, it can be reproduced without me. Then why do you need her alive? The room went cold. Cade's smile didn't waver. Because Dr. Voss isn't just a chemist. She's a developer. This compound is Generation 1. She's already designing Generation 2, improved stability, enhanced properties, new applications. Killing the goose that lays golden eggs would be short-sighted. Rizzo's eyes moved from Cade to Alara and back. And if the goose decides to fly away? She won't. You sound certain. I am. Dr. Voss and I have an understanding. Cade's voice was calm, absolute. She wants her life back, her reputation restored, her work recognized. I can give her that. No one else can. And you, Dr. Voss? Rizzo addressed her directly. Is this what you want? Partnership with a man like Adrian Cade? Alara felt everyone watching her. This was a test. Not of chemistry, but of loyalty, of commitment. She thought about her studio apartment with the broken lock, the collection notices, the nights crying herself to sleep, the applications to universities that never responded, the slow, grinding erasure of everything she'd worked for. She thought about Marcus Chen's face when she'd exposed him. "Yes," she said, "this is what I want." Rizzo nodded slowly. "Then we have a deal to discuss." The negotiation took 2 hours. By the end, preliminary agreements were in place. Rizzo would take primary distribution rights for the East Coast and overseas markets. Volkov would handle Eastern Europe. Senator Gaines would smooth regulatory issues and provide political cover. Tanaka would manage Asian distribution. Even Hale, desperate to recoup his losses, negotiated a small percentage in exchange for his existing network contacts. Chen got nothing. He sat through it all in silence, watching his stolen empire being carved up and redistributed. When Rizzo finally stood to leave, Chen found his voice. "This isn't over." Cade looked at him with something close to pity. "Yes, Marcus. It is. I'll fight this. I'll expose you. All of you." "To whom?" Senator Gaines adjusted her pearls. "The authorities." "I am the authorities, darling. The media? I control enough newspapers to bury any story you try to sell. The academic community? They'll crucify you the moment Dr. Voss's evidence comes to light." "You're ruined," Volkov added, almost cheerfully. "Accept it with grace." Chen's hands were shaking. "Alara!" His voice cracked. "You can't do this. After everything I taught you, everything I gave you." Something snapped inside her. "Everything you gave me?" Alara stood. "You gave me nothing. I earned every breakthrough, every insight, every success. You just slapped your name on it and took the credit. The only thing you taught me was that brilliant men can be mediocre thieves." "I made you," Chen said desperately. "Without my lab, my funding, my mentorship, I would have succeeded anyway. Probably faster." Alara moved around the table until she stood directly in front of him. "You didn't make me, Marcus. You stole from me, and now you're going to spend the rest of your career explaining why." She turned to Cade. "I'm done here. Almost." Cade gestured to Cole, who'd been standing silent by the door. "Dr. Chen needs an escort out. Make sure he understands that attempting to contact Dr. Voss or anyone else at this table would be extremely unwise." Cole moved forward. Chen stood, trying to maintain some dignity. "This is kidnapping," he said. "Illegal detention." "This is a private dinner," Senator Gaines corrected. "And you're leaving voluntarily, aren't you, Dr. Chen?" Cole's hand settled on Chen's shoulder. Not rough, but definitive. Chen left. Alara watched him go and felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just a vast, echoing emptiness where revenge should have been. The other guests departed shortly after, handshakes, promises of follow-up meetings, veiled threats disguised as professional courtesies. Soon only Alara, Cade, and Nina remained. "You did well," Cade said. Alara laughed. It came out harsh. "Did I? Because I feel like I just sold my soul." "You sold a formula. Your soul was never in question." "Wasn't it?" She turned to face him. "I just helped you set up a drug empire. Do you know what this compound could do in the wrong hands? The addiction potential? The black market applications? You knew what this was when you agreed. I knew I wanted revenge. I didn't think about the rest. And now that you have thought about it, I don't know." Alara pressed her hands to her temples. Her head was pounding. "Chen's destroyed. My work is recognized. But at what cost? The cost of living in reality instead of idealism." Cade's voice was matter-of-fact. "You were never going to get justice through legitimate channels. The system failed you. I offered you an alternative. You took it. That doesn't make it right. Right is a luxury. Survival is a necessity. You chose to survive." He wasn't wrong. God help her. He wasn't wrong. Nina's phone buzzed. She checked it, frowned. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "Victor Hale just left the hotel. He's making calls. A lot of calls." Cade's expression didn't change, but something shifted in his posture. A tightening. "To whom?" "Can't tell yet, but his body language reads desperate." Nina pulled up security footage on her tablet. Hale on the street, phone pressed to his ear, gesturing frantically. He's scared. Of what? Of being cut out. He negotiated a small percentage, but it's nothing compared to what he lost. Men like Hale don't accept diminishment well. Cade watched the footage for a long moment. Then, put surveillance on him. Full coverage. I want to know everyone he contacts. Already done. Good. He turned to Alara. You should go home. Rest. Tomorrow we start production planning. Just like that? We're moving forward? Did you think this was the end? Tonight was a beginning. The real work starts now. Alara felt exhaustion settling into her bones. And if I want out? Do you? That was the question, wasn't it? Did she want out? Could she even get out at this point? She'd crossed too many lines, burned too many bridges. Going to the authorities would implicate herself. Going back to academia was impossible. Chen might be ruined, but she'd tied herself to a criminal enterprise. Forward was the only direction left. No, she said quietly. I don't want out. Cade nodded. Then get some rest. Nina will take you home. The apartment felt too quiet when Alara finally got there. She'd been living here for 2 weeks, but hadn't really settled in. Boxes still unpacked, furniture arranged but not personalized. It was a holding cell, not a home. She poured herself whiskey from a bottle she didn't remember buying. Probably Nina had stocked the place. Probably everything here was provided by Cade, chosen by his people, monitored by his security. She owned nothing anymore. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it was almost liberating. Alara stood at the window, whiskey in hand, watching the city lights blur through rain. Somewhere out there, Marcus Chen was realizing his career was over. Victor Hale was making desperate phone calls. Senator Gaines and Dmitry Volkov and Yuki Tanaka were planning how to monetize her work. And Adrian Cade was orchestrating all of it with the calm precision of a chess master moving pieces. She was one of those pieces now. The realization settled over her like a shroud. Her phone buzzed, the encrypted one. A message from Nina. Sleep. Tomorrow gets complicated. Alara finished her whiskey and went to bed. Tomorrow did get complicated. It started at 6 a.m. with Nina pounding on her door. Up, now. We have a situation. Alara stumbled to the door in yesterday's clothes. She'd barely slept, nightmares about Chen's face and Rizzo's shark eyes chasing her through shallow unconsciousness. Nina pushed past her, tablet already out. Victor Hale made contact with someone. We don't know who yet, but the encryption on the calls was military grade, professional. Meaning? Meaning he's not just making business calls. He's planning something. Alara's stomach dropped. Like what? Retaliation, sabotage, we're not sure. But Cade wants you in a secure location until we figure it out. I'm already in a secure location. More secure. Nina was typing as she talked. Cole's on his way. Pack light. You might be gone for a few days. Gone where? Somewhere Victor can't reach you. 20 minutes later, Alara was in another car with Cole, heading out of the city. The rain had stopped, leaving everything gray and wet. Cole drove in silence, taking roads that got progressively more rural, more isolated. Where are we going? Alara asked. Safe house, 2 hours north. For how long? Until it's safe. Helpful. They drove through small towns that looked forgotten, past farms and forests, deeper into country that felt removed from civilization. Finally, they turned onto a private road that wound through dense trees. The house at the end was large, modern, and completely hidden from any main road. Glass and steel and security that probably cost more than the structure itself. Inside it was sterile, functional. A place to hide, not to live. Kitchen's stocked, Cole said. Internet's disabled. Phone only works for the 3 program numbers. Don't go outside, don't open doors for anyone but me or Nina. What if there's an emergency? Then call me. He left. Alara stood in the middle of the empty house and tried not to feel like a prisoner. 3 days passed. 3 days of isolation, 3 days of pacing, 3 days of her mind racing through scenarios, each worse than the last. Nina called twice with updates that weren't really updates. Still monitoring Hale. No movement yet. Sit tight, like she had any choice. On the 4th day, Cole came back. But he wasn't alone. Two other men got out of the car with him, both armed, both moving with the coiled efficiency of professionals. Something was wrong. What's happening? Alara met them at the door. Change of plans, Cole said. You're coming back to the city. Why? I thought Hale made his move. Cade wants you where he can protect you directly. That didn't make sense. This place was designed for protection. Bringing her back into the city, into the open, seemed like the opposite of safe. Unless safety wasn't the point anymore. Tell me what happened, Alara demanded. Cole exchanged glances with the other two men. Hale sabotaged one of Cade's operations. Warehouse fire. $3 million in product loss. It's a declaration of war. And that affects me how? Because Hale's not just targeting operations, he's targeting people, associates, partners. Cole's eyes were flat. You're a partner now. The world tilted. He's going to kill me. He's going to try. We're not going to let him. They drove back to the city in tense silence. Alara watched the landscape reverse itself. Forests becoming farms, becoming suburbs, becoming urban sprawl. The sky was dark now, heavy with the promise of more rain. When they arrived, it wasn't at her apartment. It was at Cade's building. The elevator took them to the top floor, the penthouse she'd only heard about. When the doors opened, Alara stepped into a space that looked like it belonged in an architecture magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, minimalist furniture, art that was probably worth millions. And Cade, standing by the windows, phone to his ear. He ended the call when he saw her. Dr. Voss, I apologize for the disruption. Disruption, Alara laughed without humor. That's one word for it. Victor Hale has become a problem. So I've heard. What are you going to do about it? Eliminate him. The casual way he said it, like discussing weather or traffic, sent ice down her spine. You're going to kill him. I'm going to remove a threat to my operations and my people. You're one of my people now. I didn't sign up for this. You signed up the moment you corrected that formula. Cade moved closer. You knew what I was, what this world was. Don't pretend innocence now. He was right. God damn him. He was right. What do you need from me? Alara asked. Stay here. Stay safe. Let me handle Victor. And then what? Then we move forward. Production, distribution, everything we planned. With bodies in our wake. Cade's expression didn't change. The cost of doing business. A sound interrupted them. Nina's voice from across the room, sharp with urgency. We have a bigger problem. Everyone turned. Nina had her tablet up, face pale. Victor didn't just sabotage the warehouse. He made a deal. With whom? Cade's voice went cold. Matteo Rizzo. Silence dropped like a guillotine. That's impossible, Cade said. Rizzo signed our agreement. He has no reason to... Hale offered him something better. Full formula rights, exclusive distribution. And he told Rizzo that you're planning to cut him out once production scales up. That's a lie. Rizzo doesn't know that. And Hale has documentation, forged, obviously, but convincing, enough to make Rizzo suspicious. Cade's jaw tightened. When did this happen? 2 hours ago. Rizzo's people reached out for a meeting. Tonight. Says he wants to renegotiate terms. It's a trap. Probably. But if you don't go, it confirms Hale's story. Rizzo will assume you were planning to betray him and act accordingly. Alara watched Cade's face. For the first time since she'd met him, he looked uncertain. Not afraid? Men like Cade didn't do fear the way normal people did. But calculating. Running scenarios, trying to find a path that didn't end in blood. What do you need? She asked. Cade looked at her. What? I said, what do you need? You're running scenarios. What's the variable you're missing? Proof that Hale's lying. Something concrete that demonstrates I had no intention of cutting Rizzo out. Do you have that? Not readily accessible. Alara's mind raced. Chemistry, not strategy, was her domain. But chemistry was strategy, in a way. Reactions, balances, catalysts that shifted entire systems. Then create it, she said. Create proof? Create incentive. Give Rizzo something so valuable he can't afford to believe Hale. Something only I can provide. Something that makes me, and by extension, you, indispensable. Cade studied her. You have an idea. Generation 2. I told Rizzo I was developing it. What if I actually have? What if tonight, instead of defending yourself against Hale's lies, you present Rizzo with the next evolution? Improved stability, enhanced properties, something that makes the original formula look like a prototype. Do you have Generation 2? Not yet, but I can fake enough to be convincing. Spectral data, synthesis outlines, enough scientific material to demonstrate serious progress. That's fraud. That's survival. Your word, not mine. Nina was already shaking her head. It's too risky. If Rizzo calls the bluff, then we have bigger problems than fraud, Ilara interrupted. If he believes Hale, you're already finished. This is a gamble, but it's one that plays to your strengths. Give him greed. Give him vision. Give him a reason to stay loyal. Cade was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. You're learning, he said. All right, we do it your way. How much time do you need? 3 hours, maybe 4. I'll need access to my lab files and design software. Done. Nina, set her up. Cole, prep for tonight. Full security detail. Everyone moved at once. Ilara was led to a home office with equipment that made her own setup look primitive. Nina transferred files. Ilara opened synthesis software and started building. She'd told the truth. She had been thinking about Generation 2. Improvements, modifications. But thinking wasn't the same as developing, and developing wasn't the same as completing. What she was about to do was construct a beautiful lie wrapped in enough truth to be seductive. She worked with desperate speed. The foundation was real, genuine chemical theory, plausible reaction pathways. The specifics were invention, data extrapolated from hypotheticals, structures designed to look revolutionary without being testable in the time frame Rizzo would have. It was the kind of thing Chen used to do. Sell vision before validation, promise results that existed only on paper. The irony wasn't lost on her. 4 hours later, she had a presentation that would convince anyone who wasn't a world-class chemist. And even most of them would be fooled at first glance. She found Cade in his office, preparing for the meeting. It's done, she said. He reviewed her work without comment. When he finished, he looked up. This could work. Or it could get us both killed. Yes. You're very calm about that possibility. I've been in worse situations. Have you? Not recently. He closed the laptop. But the principle stands. Risk is inherent. Management is the skill. Is that what you call this? Management? What would you call it? Ilara didn't have an answer. The meeting was set for midnight at a neutral location, a restaurant Rizzo owned, closed to the public for the occasion. Cade wanted Ilara there to present the Generation 2 material herself. It'll be more convincing coming from you, he said, or it'll make me a target. You're already a target. This way, you're a valuable one. They arrived 15 minutes early. The restaurant was dark except for a private room in the back. Rizzo was already there, flanked by 4 men who looked like they ate bullets for breakfast. Senator Gaines sat to his right, Volkov to his left, and across from them, smiling like a man holding royal flush, was Victor Hale. Adrian, Rizzo said. Dr. Voss, please sit. They sat. The atmosphere was glacial. Victor has made some interesting claims, Rizzo continued, about your intentions, your reliability. I'd like to hear your response. I'd like to hear the claims first, Cade said calmly. Hale leaned forward. You're planning to consolidate production once it scales. Cut out everyone at this table except your personal network. The formula gives you leverage and you intend to use it. Based on what evidence? Documents? Communications? Testimony from your own people. Forged, I assume. Authenticated, actually. Cade didn't blink. By whom? Sources I trust more than I trust you. Then we have a problem of credibility. No, Rizzo said quietly. We have a problem of trust. Victor's accusations are serious. If true, they represent a fundamental breach of our agreement. If false, they represent his desperation. Either way, I need certainty. This was it, the moment. Ilara spoke before Cade could. Mr. Rizzo, may I? He gestured permission. Victor's right about one thing, Ilara said. The formula does give us leverage, but he's wrong about the application. We're not using it to cut you out. We're using it to expand the opportunity. She opened her laptop, turned it so everyone could see. Generation 2, enhanced molecular structure, 3 times the stability of the original compound, broader application range, higher margins, and, she met Rizzo's eyes, exclusive access for partners who demonstrate loyalty. She walked them through the presentation. The chemistry danced across the screen, beautiful, complex, mostly fictional. But it looked real. It sounded real. And most importantly, it promised wealth that made the original formula look like a down payment. Rizzo listened without interruption. When she finished, he sat back. This exists. The framework exists. Full development will take 6 months, maybe less with proper resources. And if we invest in this development, you get first access, priority distribution. The original formula becomes the foundation for an entire product line. Assuming it works, it will work. The chemistry is sound. Rizzo looked at Hale. Your thoughts, Victor? Hale's face had gone rigid. This is smoke and mirrors. She can't possibly have developed this in... Can I? Alara challenged. I developed the original compound in 4 years while managing graduate students and fighting with Chen over credit. Now I have unlimited resources, no bureaucratic oversight, and serious motivation. 6 months is generous. She's lying. Prove it. Hale opened his mouth, closed it. He had no proof because there was nothing to disprove, yet. By the time anyone could verify whether Generation 2 was real, she'd either have delivered it or be dead. Either way, the immediate crisis would be resolved. Rizzo studied Alara with those shark eyes. You're very confident, Dr. Voss. I'm very good, Mr. Rizzo. And very committed to Mr. Cade's organization. I'm committed to my work. Mr. Cade provides the resources for that work. It's a mutually beneficial relationship. Touching, Rizzo's voice was dry. He turned to Hale. Victor, you've made serious accusations without sufficient evidence. You've attempted to manipulate me against a partner who's just presented a compelling expansion opportunity. That's either desperation or stupidity. Neither inspires confidence. Hale went pale. I have proof. The documents are worthless without corroboration. And Dr. Voss's presentation suggests that Adrian's interests align with mine, not against them. She could be lying. She could be. But why would she? If Adrian planned to betray me, presenting this expansion would be counterproductive. It creates more interdependence, not less. The logic was sound. Alara had counted on that. Rizzo was a businessman before he was a criminal. He responded to incentives, not paranoia. Hale was losing, and men who are losing do desperate things. You're all fools, he spat, standing. You're trusting a man who'll cut your throats the first chance he gets. And her, she's just his puppet, his... The sound of a gun cocking stopped him mid-sentence. One of Rizzo's men had drawn a weapon, casual, almost bored. Sit down, Victor, Rizzo said softly. Hale sat. Adrian, Rizzo continued, I'm willing to proceed with our original agreement, with modifications to include this Generation 2 development. We'll structure incremental investments tied to milestone achievements. Fair? Very fair, Cade said. Excellent. Rizzo stood. Then we're done here. Victor, you and I will discuss your future separately. The tone made it clear what separately meant. Hale's face collapsed. Wait, please. I can explain. I'm sure you can. Let's find somewhere quiet for that conversation. Rizzo's men moved around Hale like water around a stone. He was escorted out, protesting weakly. When they were gone, Rizzo turned to Alara. Impressive performance, Dr. Voss. Thank you. Was any of it true? Alara met his eyes. Some of it. Which parts? The parts that matter. Rizzo smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. You're dangerous. I like that. But understand something. If you've lied to me tonight, if this Generation 2 doesn't materialize, I will hold both of you accountable. Personally. Understood, Cade said. Good. Rizzo headed for the door, then paused. Oh, and Adrian? If you do ever plan to betray me, at least have the courtesy to make it interesting. He left. Alara exhaled for what felt like the first time in an hour. Well, she said. That happened. Cade was already on his phone, texting instructions to Nina and Cole. You did well. I just committed us to developing something that doesn't exist. Then you'd better make it exist. In 6 months. You said it was possible. I said the chemistry was sound. That's not the same as possible. Cade pocketed his phone, looked at her directly. You'll figure it out. You always do. What makes you so sure? Because you're like me. You don't accept failure. You find another path, another angle, another solution. It's why you survived Chen. It's why you'll survive this. Alara wanted to argue, wanted to point out all the ways she was nothing like him, but exhaustion was setting in, adrenaline fading, and she wasn't sure the distinction mattered anymore. What happens to Hale? She asked. That's Rizzo's concern now. You know what Rizzo's going to do. Yes. Doesn't that bother you? Should it? Victor made his choices. He chose sabotage, betrayal. He gambled and lost. He's going to die because of a lie I told. Cade's expression was unreadable. He was going to die regardless. Your lie just determined the timeline. They drove back to Cade's building in silence. The city was empty at this hour, streets wet from earlier rain, reflecting neon and streetlights in fractured patterns. When they arrived, Alara didn't get out immediately. I can't stay at the penthouse forever, she said. Why not? Because it's not my home. Home is wherever you're safe. That's not what home means. Cade turned to look at her. What do you want, Dr. Voss? Really? I want my life back. Which life? The one where you were brilliant but invisible, breaking your back for institutions that would replace you without a second thought, or something different? I don't know anymore. Then figure it out. Because you're at a crossroads. You can be Chen's victim forever, brilliant, bitter, and ultimately forgotten. Or you can be something else, something that history will remember. As what? A criminal? As a survivor. As someone who refused to stay broken. Alara looked out at the city. At what cost? Every choice has a cost. The question is whether the price is worth the prize. She didn't have an answer. They rode the elevator up in silence. When the doors opened to the penthouse, Nina was waiting. Rizzo's confirmed, she said. Full partnership. Hale's been removed from consideration. Permanently? Alara asked, though she already knew. Nina's expression was carefully blank. Victor Hale is no longer a concern. Alara felt something twist in her chest. Not grief. She'd barely known Hale, and he'd tried to have her killed. But something. The weight of a life ended because she'd been convincing enough with a PowerPoint presentation. Get some rest, Cade said. Tomorrow we start production planning for real. You have 6 months to turn that fiction into fact. And if I can't, you will. He said it with such certainty. Like failure wasn't an option, like reality would bend to accommodate his expectations. Maybe it would. Alara went to the guest room Nina had prepared, lay down on sheets that probably cost more than her monthly salary used to be, stared at a ceiling that was too high, too far away. She'd won. Chen was destroyed. Hale was dead. Rizzo was on board. The formula was hers again, her work recognized, her brilliance undeniable. So why did victory taste like ashes? Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You've made powerful friends and powerful enemies. Watch your back. Alara's blood went cold. She showed the message to Nina, who'd been doing security sweeps. Trace it, Nina said immediately, already working. 5 minutes later. Burner phone. Already destroyed. Sent from downtown, but that could mean anything. Who would send this? Someone with access to your new number. Someone who knows where you are. Someone inside the organization or very close to it. Alara felt the walls closing in. She wasn't just caught between Cade and his enemies anymore. She was inside the machine. And machines ate people. That night, sleep didn't come. Alara stood at the window, watching the city that had become her prison and her kingdom, and understood with crystalline clarity that there was no going back. She'd crossed the point of no return. Forward was the only direction left. Even if forward led straight into darkness, the lab became Alara's entire universe again. But this time, the work felt different, poisoned. Every calculation carried the weight of Victor Hale's corpse. Every synthesis pathway was a reminder that failure meant more than professional embarrassment. It meant bodies. She worked 18-hour days, 20 when she couldn't sleep. The Generation 2 compound had to be real, had to work, had to justify the lie that had kept her breathing. 2 weeks in, she hit her first major obstacle. The enhanced stability she'd promised required a completely novel catalytic system. The original formula had used palladium complexes she'd spent years optimizing. Generation 2 needed something else, something that existed only in theoretical papers and her increasingly desperate imagination. She tried 17 different approaches. All failed. On the 18th attempt, at 3 in the morning, on a Tuesday that felt like it had lasted 3 days, she got a 78% yield with acceptable purity. Then she tried to reproduce it. 42% yield, different impurity profile. The reaction was unstable, sensitive to variables she couldn't identify. She tried again. 61%. Again. 39%. The chemistry was fighting her, and chemistry didn't lie. Problem? Nina's voice came from the doorway. Alara didn't turn around. The reaction won't stabilize. I can get product, but not consistently. Rizzo wants something that can be manufactured at scale. This barely works in a controlled lab. How long to fix it? I don't know. Weeks? Months? Maybe never. That's not an acceptable answer. It's the only honest one I have. Nina moved closer, examining the data on Alara's screens. What do you need? A miracle, or access to someone who's solved similar problems. Who? Alara pulled up a file she'd been avoiding for 2 weeks. A name, a location, a person she'd hoped never to contact again. Dr. Sarah Okonkwo. She's at MIT now, specializes in exactly this type of catalytic chemistry. If anyone can solve this, she can. Can you trust her? She was my friend. Before Chen destroyed my career, we published together. She tried to defend me during the investigation, but the university shut her down. So she owes you, or resents me for dragging her into my mess. I don't know. We haven't spoken in 3 years. Nina was already typing on her phone. I'll arrange contact. She won't help criminals. She won't know she's helping criminals. We'll approach it differently. How? Nina's smile was cold. Leave that to me. 3 days later, Alara found herself on a video call with Sarah Okonkwo. The screen showed a woman in her early 40s, natural hair pulled back, wearing a MIT sweatshirt, and the kind of exhaustion that came from grant deadlines and undergraduate labs. When she saw Alara, her expression went through several rapid changes: surprise, confusion, and something that might have been guilt. Alara, is that really you? Hi, Sarah. Wow, I didn't expect... Sarah stopped, recalibrated. How are you? Where are you? I heard you left academia. I did. I'm doing private research now. For whom? A pharmaceutical company. Can't disclose specifics. NDA. Sarah's eyebrows rose. They hired you after everything with Chen? Some organizations care more about results than politics. Apparently. Sarah leaned back. So why the call? It's been years. This was the delicate part. The script Nina had prepared was sitting on Alara's desk, but using it felt wrong. Sarah deserved better than manipulation. She used it anyway. I'm stuck on a catalytic problem. Novel heterocyclic synthesis. The reaction works but won't stabilize. I remembered your work on transition metal complexes and thought you might have insights. Sarah's academic instincts kicked in immediately. What's the system? Alara shared the relevant chemistry, carefully edited to remove anything that would identify the actual compound. Sarah studied it, asked questions, made notes. For 20 minutes, it was like old times. 2 scientists solving a problem because the problem was there. Then Sarah said something that changed everything. This structure looks familiar. Where have I seen this before? Alara's heart stopped. What do you mean? The core framework. I've definitely encountered something similar. Sarah was scrolling through files on her end. Give me a second. The seconds stretched into minutes. Alara watched Sarah's face, watched realization slowly dawn. Oh my God, Sarah whispered. What? This is Chen's compound, the one he stole from you. Sarah, you're working on variations of your own research, the research he destroyed you over. Sarah's voice was climbing. Who hired you for this? What pharmaceutical company would? It's complicated. Complicated? Alara, this compound has been flagged by half a dozen regulatory agencies. The applications Chen was pursuing were borderline illegal. If you're developing variants, if you're working for someone trying to commercialize this, Sarah stopped. Her face went pale. You're not working for a pharmaceutical company, are you? Silence on the line. Alara, what have you gotten into? I can't explain. Can't or won't? Both. Sarah's hands were shaking. You need to stop whatever you're doing, right now. This compound, the people who want it, they're not legitimate researchers. I know what they are. And you're helping them anyway? I didn't have a choice. Everyone has a choice. Easy to say when you still have a career, a lab, a future. Alara's voice came out harder than intended. You tried to defend me. I appreciate that. But when the university told you to shut up, you did. When Chen's version of events became official record, you accepted it. You had a choice too, Sarah. You chose safety. Sarah flinched. That's not fair. Nothing about this is fair, but here we are. I can't help you with this. I won't. I understand. Do you? Because if you're involved with the kind of people I think you're involved with, understanding doesn't matter. These aren't academics who'll write sternly worded emails. These are people who make problems disappear permanently. I'm aware. Then get out. Whatever they're paying you, whatever they've promised, it's not worth your life. Alara laughed without humor. My life was already over, Sarah. This is just the epilogue. It doesn't have to be. You could... Nina's hand appeared from off-screen, ending the call. That went poorly, Nina said. She recognized the chemistry. I heard. Is she a problem? Alara's stomach turned. Don't what? Whatever you're thinking. Sarah's not a threat. She won't tell anyone. You're certain? Yes. Nina studied her for a long moment. I'll inform Mr. Cade, but if she becomes a liability, she won't. For your sake, I hope you're right. Nina left. Alara sat in the empty lab, staring at the disconnected video call screen, and wondered how many more people would die because she'd been too weak to let her career stay dead. The answer came faster than expected. 2 days later, Sarah Okonkwo was killed in a car accident on Route 2 outside Cambridge. Single vehicle collision, lost control on a wet road, dead instantly. Alara found out from a news alert on her phone. She read the article 3 times, hands shaking so badly she could barely hold the device. Then she walked to the bathroom and vomited until there was nothing left. When she came back, Cade was standing in her lab. I didn't order it, he said quietly. Alara stared at him. What? Sarah Okonkwo's death. I didn't order it. Nina reported the conversation, flagged her as a potential issue, but I told her to monitor only. Someone else acted. Who? I don't know yet, but I will. Alara felt something crack inside her chest. She was my friend. I know. She was innocent. I know that too. Then why is she dead? Because someone in my organization decided she was a threat and moved without authorization. Cade's voice was flat, controlled. Which means I have a loyalty problem. You have a murder problem. Sarah didn't do anything. She recognized the chemistry and tried to warn me, and now she's... Alara couldn't finish the sentence. Cade moved closer, not threatening, almost gentle. Alara, look at me. She did. His gray eyes were hard. This world doesn't forgive knowledge. Your friend knew too much. Someone decided that was unacceptable. I will find who gave that order and deal with them. But I can't bring her back. Deal with them how? The same way they dealt with her. More death, more blood. A cascade of violence that started the moment she'd opened her mouth in that restaurant and would apparently never stop. I want out, Alara whispered. No, you don't. Yes, I do. I can't keep doing this. Every choice I make gets someone killed. Chen, Hale, now Sarah. How many more? As many as necessary. That's not an answer. It's the only answer there is. Cade's voice was patient, almost kind. You think you can walk away? Go back to waiting tables? Pretend none of this happened? Rizzo knows your face. Volkov knows your name. Senator Gaines has your file. You're documented, tagged. If you leave my protection, you'll last maybe a week before someone decides you're a loose end worth tying off. So I'm a prisoner. You're an asset. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. Cade was quiet for a moment. Then, you want honesty? Here it is. You were never going to have a normal life after what Chen did to you. The moment he destroyed your reputation, you stopped being a civilian. You became someone with nothing to lose. People like that are dangerous to themselves and everyone around them. I didn't create this situation. I just offered you a way to weaponize it. By turning me into a criminal. By turning you into someone who matters. Someone with power. Resources. The ability to shape outcomes instead of being shaped by them. He gestured around the lab. You've accomplished more in 6 weeks here than you did in 4 years at the university. You've made more money than you'd earn in a decade of teaching. And yes, people have died. People die every day. At least these deaths have meaning. What meaning? Profit? Survival? Evolution? The strong consuming the weak. It's nature. We're not animals. Aren't we? Cade's smile was thin. You think academic politics are civilized? You think Chen stole your work because he respected intellectual discourse? He saw something valuable and took it because he could, because he was better positioned, better connected, stronger. The only difference between him and me is that I'm honest about the game. Alara wanted to argue, wanted to point out all the ways academia and organized crime weren't the same, but the words stuck in her throat because part of her, a part she hated, knew he wasn't entirely wrong. Sarah didn't deserve to die, she said finally. No, she didn't, and whoever killed her will answer for it. But her death doesn't change your situation. You still owe Rizzo a working formula in 4 months. You still have enemies who'd love to see you fail. And you still have a choice. Keep working and survive, or quit and die. Those are your options. He left her alone with that truth. Alara stood in the sterile silence of her lab and understood, with perfect clarity, that she'd never really had a choice at all. The moment she'd corrected that formula, the moment she'd agreed to Cade's offer, the moment she'd stood in front of Rizzo and sold him a beautiful lie, every step had been leading here, to this moment, to this understanding. She was exactly what Cade said she was, someone with nothing to lose and everything to prove. Sarah's death should have broken her. Instead, it hardened something that had been softening. Alara returned to her workstation, pulled up the catalytic data, and got back to work. 4 months. She had 4 months to turn fiction into reality. She'd grieve later. Right now, survival required science. The breakthrough came 6 weeks later, at 4 in the morning on a Saturday that Alara had lost track of days ago. The key wasn't a new catalyst. It was a different approach entirely, using a cascade of smaller reactions instead of one large transformation. The yield was lower, but the consistency was perfect. Batch after batch, identical results. It would work. She ran the reaction 10 more times to be certain, then she called Nina. I have it. Nina arrived within 30 minutes, reviewing the data with sharp eyes. You're sure? I'm sure. The synthesis is stable, reproducible, scalable, everything Rizzo wanted. Then we need to schedule a demonstration. Already? You've had 6 weeks of extensions. Rizzo's getting impatient. We demonstrate next week or he starts questioning the investment. Alara's stomach nodded. Where? Here, in the lab. Full presentation. Cade wants Rizzo to see the operation, understand the science, feel confident in continued partnership. And if something goes wrong, nothing will go wrong. You've tested this thoroughly. Science isn't perfect. Variables can... Nothing will go wrong. Nina's voice was steel. Because if it does, we all have a problem. Understood? Understood. The week leading up to the demonstration was a blur of preparation. Alara ran the synthesis 15 more times, documenting everything, preparing presentation materials, rehearsing answers to technical questions. Cade stopped by twice, observing without comment. The second time, he brought something unexpected, a small velvet box. What's this? Alara asked. Open it. Inside was a necklace, simple, elegant, diamonds that caught light like frozen stars. I don't understand. You've delivered. This is recognition. I don't want jewelry. Then consider it costume. You're presenting to Rizzo as my partner, not my employee. Partners wear diamonds. Alara stared at the necklace. It was beautiful. probably worth more than her parents' house, and it felt like a collar. Wear it, Cade said. It wasn't a request. She wore it. The day of the demonstration arrived with heavy rain, the kind that turned streets into rivers and made the sky press down like wet concrete. Rizzo arrived at 2 p.m. with his usual entourage, plus Senator Gaines and Dr. Tanaka. Volkov was absent. Nina explained he was managing issues in Prague. They gathered in the lab's observation area, separated from the actual synthesis by glass walls. Alara had set up 3 workstations, each running a different stage of the process simultaneously to demonstrate scalability. Gentlemen, Dr. Tanaka, Senator, Alara began. Her voice was steady. The fear had burned away, leaving something harder. What you're about to see is Generation 2 of the original compound. Enhanced stability, improved synthesis efficiency, broader application potential. She walked them through the chemistry, explaining each stage, answering technical questions from Tanaka with the ease of someone who'd lived this synthesis for 2 months straight. The reactions proceeded flawlessly. Each workstation produced exactly what it was supposed to, when it was supposed to. Rizzo watched with those shark eyes, asking occasional questions that had nothing to do with chemistry and everything to do with production costs, yield percentages, profit margins. 2 hours later, Alara had 3 vials of pure product sitting on the presentation table. Remarkable, Tanaka said, examining the spectral data. The purity is exceptional. The consistency is what matters, Rizzo said. Can this be replicated outside this lab? By technicians who aren't PhD chemists? With proper training and quality control, yes. The process is more forgiving than Generation 1. The cascade approach builds in error correction. Show me. I'm sorry? Show me it can be done by someone other than you. Have one of Cade's people run it, right now. Alara's blood went cold. That's not... We haven't trained anyone yet. The synthesis is complex. Then walk someone through it. If this is truly scalable, it shouldn't require your constant supervision. He was testing her, testing the formula, testing whether she was truly indispensable or just a very expensive middleman. Cade caught her eye. His expression was neutral, but the message was clear. Pass this test. Of course, Alara said. Nina, do you have someone with basic lab experience? Nina made a call. 5 minutes later, Marcus, the security guard who'd been stationed outside Alara's lab for months, entered wearing a borrowed lab coat. Marcus has undergraduate chemistry, Nina said, 2 years before he switched to security work. Better than nothing. Alara spent 20 minutes walking Marcus through the first stage of the synthesis. He was nervous, hands shaking slightly, but he followed instructions precisely. The reaction proceeded, not as smoothly as when Alara ran it, but acceptably. They were setting up the second stage when the explosion happened. It wasn't large, just a small flash from Workstation 3, the automated synthesis Alara had running in the background to demonstrate parallel processing. But the flash was followed by thick, acrid smoke and the harsh smell of burning chemicals. Everyone moved at once. Cade's security pulled Rizzo and the others back. Nina hit the fire suppression system. Alara ran to the workstation, shutting down the reaction, killing the heat, trying to prevent secondary explosions. The smoke cleared. Workstation 3 was destroyed, glass shattered, equipment melted, and on the counter, instead of the expected product, was a black tarry residue that smelled like failure and disaster. What happened? Rizzo's voice was ice. Alara stared at the ruined equipment, mind racing. This shouldn't be possible. The reaction was running perfectly this morning. Clearly it wasn't. No, I tested this exact setup 15 times. It never failed, never showed any instability. Tanaka was already examining the residue. This suggests a runaway exothermic reaction. The temperature must have spiked. The thermocouple would have caught that, would have shut down automatically, unless it malfunctioned. Or was tampered with, Cade said quietly. Everyone turned. Look at the connection. Cade pointed to the temperature sensor. The wire had been partially severed, just enough to cause malfunction without being obvious during pre-demonstration checks. Sabotage. Who has access to this lab? Rizzo demanded. Only cleared personnel, Nina said. Dr. Voss, myself, security team, and maintenance staff. Then someone on that list is working against you. Cade's expression was carved from stone. So it seems. The demonstration was over. Rizzo and his people left with assurances that the incident would be investigated, but Alara could see the doubt in his eyes. The calculation. One working formula wasn't enough if the system could be compromised. When they were gone, Cade turned to Nina. Find them. Already on it. How long? 48 hours. Maybe less. Make it less. Nina left. Cole and the other security followed. Suddenly, Alara was alone with Cade in the ruined lab. This wasn't an accident, she said. No. Who would sabotage their own operation? Someone who benefits from my failure. Someone positioned to take over if I fall. Cade was pacing now, the calm facade cracking slightly. This wasn't about destroying the formula. It was about undermining credibility, making Rizzo question whether I can deliver. Will he pull out? Not yet, but his patience has limits. We need to identify the traitor before he decides I'm more trouble than I'm worth. And if we can't? Cade stopped pacing, looked at her. Then we improvise. The answer came 36 hours later. Alara was reviewing security footage, trying to identify who'd accessed the lab before the demonstration when Nina appeared in the doorway. Her face was grim. We found them. Who? Come with me. They took the elevator down to a sub-level Alara didn't know existed. The doors opened onto a concrete corridor that smelled like mildew and old violence. Nina led her to a room at the end. Inside, tied to a chair, bleeding from a split lip, was Marcus, the security guard, the one who'd helped with the demonstration, the one who'd been stationed outside Alara's lab for months. No, Alara said. That's impossible. Marcus wouldn't. Marcus has been feeding information to a competing organization for 3 months, Nina said flatly. Communications, lab schedules, security protocols. And he sabotaged Workstation 3 the night before the demonstration. Marcus looked up. His eyes were swollen, frightened. I didn't have a choice. They have my sister. They said if I didn't cooperate, they'd... Who? Cade's voice came from behind Alara. She hadn't heard him enter. Who has your sister? I don't know names, just a contact number, instructions. They knew everything about me, about my family. They said... Marcus's voice broke. They said if I helped them, my sister would be safe. If I didn't, she'd disappear. When did they first contact you? 2 months ago, right after Dr. Voss started working on Generation 2. Cade exchanged looks with Nina. Someone knew about the project, someone with access to our internal timeline. Which means the leak is higher up than Marcus, Nina said. How high? High enough to know what we're developing before we publicly announced it. Alara felt the room tilt. Someone on the inside, someone at that first dinner, someone who's been watching this entire time. Yes. Who? Before anyone could answer, Nina's phone rang. She answered, listened, went pale. What? Cade demanded. Senator Gaines just issued a statement. She's pulling her investment, citing concerns about operational security and quality control. She was there yesterday. She saw the sabotage. Exactly. She saw it, witnessed it firsthand. Nina's voice was tight. And now she's publicly distancing herself, which means either she's scared or she's part of this. Or both, Alara said quietly. Everyone looked at her. Think about it. Who benefits if Cade fails? If this operation collapses? Who's positioned to pick up the pieces? Gaines has political power, but no distribution network, Nina said. But Rizzo does. And if Rizzo loses faith in Cade, who would he turn to? Someone with political connections. Someone who can provide protection he can't get elsewhere. You're saying Gaines is making a play for the formula. I'm saying she's been making a play since the beginning. She probably set up Marcus's handler, probably fed them the information they needed to compromise him. Then she sabotaged the demonstration and publicly pulled out to make Cade look unreliable. Cade was very still. If you're right, this isn't just about the formula. It's about territory. She's using our work as leverage to negotiate power with Rizzo directly. Cutting you out entirely. Yes. The implication settled over the room like fallout. What do we do? Alara asked. Cade looked at Marcus, still tied to the chair, still bleeding. First we verify. Marcus, you're going to contact your handler. Tell them you have new information. Critical intelligence about Cade's response to the sabotage. Set up a meeting. They'll kill me, They'll try. We'll be there first. Marcus swallowed hard. And my sister? If she exists, we'll find her. If she doesn't, if they've been manipulating you with a fiction, you'll at least know the truth. It took 6 hours to set up the meet. Marcus's handler wanted neutral ground, a parking garage in an industrial district. 3 a.m. No backup. Marcus alone. Of course Marcus wouldn't be alone. Cade positioned his people on every level of the garage, snipers on adjacent buildings, Nina monitoring communications, Cole in a vehicle 2 blocks away with a tactical team, and Alara, against every instinct screaming at her to stay away, hiding in the back of an observation van with Cade, watching through night vision cameras. You didn't have to be here, Cade said. Yes, I did. This is my fault. My formula. My work that's getting people killed. You didn't sabotage the lab. No, but I created the thing worth sabotaging. Cade didn't argue. At 2:47 a.m., a black sedan pulled into the garage. Second level. 1 occupant visible in the driver's seat. Marcus walked toward it, hands shaking, wearing a wire that Nina was monitoring. The car door opened. Senator Patricia Gaines stepped out. Even through the grainy night vision feed, Ilar could see her clearly, elegant, composed, holding a small handgun with the casual competence of someone who'd used one before. Marcus, Gaines said, you have information? Yes. Cade knows about the sabotage. He's investigating everyone with lab access. And he's panicking, talking about accelerating the timeline, moving the operation. He doesn't trust anyone anymore. Good. That's very good. Gaines smiled. You've done well, Marcus. Your sister will be released as promised. She's really alive? Of course. Why would I lie? I want to see her. You said if I cooperated, and you will. Soon. First, one more task. Marcus went rigid. You said this was the last one. Plans change. Cade's moving the operation, which means we need to know where. You're going to find out. I can't. He doesn't trust me. You'll figure it out. Or your sister pays the price for your failure. Ilara watched Marcus's face crumble, watched him realize there was no end to this, no final payment that would buy his sister's freedom. Just an infinite series of tasks, each more dangerous than the last, until he was used up or caught. Now, Gaines continued, there's one more thing. Dr. Voss has become a complication. She's too valuable to Cade, too integral to the formula. We need her removed. Ilara's blood turned to ice. Removed? Marcus's voice was barely a whisper. Killed, Marcus. I need you to kill her. Make it look like an accident, lab explosion, chemical exposure, something that doesn't point back to us. I can't. I'm not a killer. You're whatever I need you to be. Unless you'd prefer your sister take Dr. Voss's place? Marcus was crying now. Please, there has to be another way. There isn't. You have 48 hours. Kill Ilara Voss or watch your sister die. Those are your options. She got back in her car. That's when Cade's people moved. They came from everywhere at once. Vehicles blocking exits, snipers targeting the sedan, tactical teams surrounding Gaines before she could even start the engine. Cole pulled Marcus away, securing him. Nina was coordinating communications, and Cade, beside Ilara in the van, was perfectly calm. Got her, he said quietly. Gaines didn't fight, didn't run, just sat in her car with hands visible on the steering wheel as armed men surrounded her. Cole pulled her out, searched her, zip-tied her hands. She was still smiling when they brought her to the van. Adrian, she said pleasantly, as if they'd met at a cocktail party. I wondered when you'd figure it out. Not fast enough, apparently. You've been undermining me for months. Undermining? I prefer positioning. You're talented, Adrian, but you think too small. Local operations, regional control. I was offering you a chance to think nationally. By stealing my formula and killing my people. Casualties of business. You understand. You've created plenty yourself. Cade's expression didn't change. Where's Marcus's sister? Dead. Has been for 2 months. Car accident. Very tragic. Marcus never thought to verify because he wanted to believe. Ilara felt sick. You played him with a corpse, Cade said. I played him with hope. Much more effective than money. Hope makes people do terrible things. Like trying to kill Dr. Voss. Gaines' eyes slid to Ilara. Nothing personal, my dear. You're brilliant. But brilliance is only valuable when it's exclusive. While you're alive, you're a resource Cade controls. Dead, you're a formula we can reverse engineer without competition. Except you can't, Alara said. Her voice was steadier than she felt. Generation 2 isn't fully documented. Critical steps exist only in my head. Kill me, and you get an incomplete synthesis that will fail when it matters most. Then I suppose we'll have to persuade you to share before you die. Torture doesn't work on scientists. We're too stubborn and too literal. We'll give you formulas, sure. Wrong ones. With impurities you won't detect until production. You'll waste months discovering I lied. Gaines studied her. You've changed. When we first met, you were terrified, broken. Now you sound like Adrian. I learned from the best. That's not a compliment, dear. Wasn't meant to be. Cade interrupted. Here's what's going to happen, Patricia. You're going to contact Rizzo. Tell him you were wrong to pull out. Recommend he continue the partnership. Then you're going to resign from the Senate, citing health concerns, and disappear. Permanently. Gaines laughed. Or what? You'll kill a sitting United States senator? That would bring attention you can't afford. You're right. Killing you would be messy. Cade's smile was thin. Which is why I'm going to let Rizzo do it. He's already suspicious about why you pulled your investment. When he learns you were planning to steal the formula and cut him out, when he discovers you've been manipulating everyone at that table, his response will be creative and terminal. The smile faded from Gaines's face. You're bluffing. Am I? Nina, send Rizzo the recordings, all of them. Let him hear Patricia's plans in her own words. Sent, Nina said. Gaines went pale. Wait. We can negotiate. I have resources, political connections you could use. You can die quietly or loudly. That's the only choice you have left. Cade nodded to Cole. Gaines was dragged away, still protesting, still trying to bargain. When she was gone, Alara realized she was shaking. Is that it? She asked. Is it over? Not even close, Cade said. Gaines was a symptom, not the disease. Someone bigger is behind this. Someone who knew enough about our operation to position her perfectly. Who? That's what we're going to find out. They returned to the penthouse as dawn broke over the city. Alara hadn't slept in 30 hours. Her eyes burned. Her hands shook from adrenaline crash, but her mind was racing. Gaines had nearly succeeded, had come within inches of having Alara killed, stealing the formula, and collapsing Cade's entire operation, which meant someone had given her the intelligence to make that possible. Someone close, someone they trusted. Alara was running through the list, Nina, Cole, the security team, lab staff, when her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You're asking the wrong questions. Her blood went cold. She showed Cade. Trace it, he ordered Nina. Already trying. Whoever sent it is using serious encryption, military grade. Another message. Gaines was a pawn, so are you. Want to know who's really playing? Don't respond, Cade said. Alara's fingers were already moving. Who is this? The reply came instantly. Someone who knows what Adrian Cade isn't telling you. Check the original contract you signed. Read the fine print. Then decide who you really trust. What contract? Alara asked. Cade's face had gone very still. The partnership agreement, the one you signed the first night. I didn't read it carefully. It was after Chen, after everything. I just signed where Nina told me to. Get the document, Cade told Nina. She pulled it up on her tablet, handed it to Alara. Alara read through the legal language, the clauses about confidentiality and non-disclosure, the terms of employment, and then she reached page 7, section 12, subsection C. Her blood turned to ice. What is this? Cade didn't answer. What the fuck is this, Adrian? The clause was buried in dense legal language, but the meaning was clear. In the event of the employee's death or incapacitation, all intellectual property rights, including but not limited to formulas, research, and derivatives thereof, transfer unconditionally to the employer. You own my work if I die, Alara said slowly. Not just the formula I've already created. Everything I might create in the future. My entire intellectual legacy. It's standard IP protection. Standard? This says you get more value from me dead than alive. It says the realization hit like a physical blow. It says you have a financial incentive to kill me once the formula is complete. I would never... Wouldn't you? Alara stood. Gaines wanted me dead to steal the formula. You want me dead to own it permanently. Same outcome. Different motivation. That's not... Then why is this clause here? Why does it exist if you never intended to use it? Cade's jaw tightened. Because I need insurance. You're brilliant, Alara, but you're also unpredictable. What happens if you decide to leave? Take the formula to a competitor? Use it for leverage against me? This clause ensures that your work stays with my organization regardless of your choices. By making me worth more dead than alive. By protecting my investment. I'm not an investment. I'm a person. In this world, you're both. Alara felt the walls closing in. Every truth she'd accepted, every compromise she'd made, every justification she'd constructed, it all collapsed in an instant. She wasn't Cade's partner. She wasn't even his employee. She was his product, and products got disposed of when they stopped being useful. I want out, she said. We've had this conversation. And now we're having it again. I'm leaving, tonight. You can keep the formula, the lab, everything. I'm done. You can't leave. Watch me. She headed for the door. Cole blocked it. Move, Alara said. Cole didn't move. She turned back to Cade. Are you seriously going to imprison me? I'm going to protect you from making a fatal mistake. You leave here. You're dead within 24 hours. Rizzo, Volkov, even Tanaka, they all know you're the key to Generation 2. Without my protection, you're just a target. Then I'll disappear, change my name, leave the country. With what money? What resources? You have nothing except what I've given you. Then I'll have nothing. I've survived on nothing before. That was before you made powerful enemies. You mean before you made me valuable enough to kill? Cade's expression shifted, something dangerous flickering behind his eyes. Careful, Alara. You're upset. You're not thinking clearly. I'm thinking perfectly clearly. For the first time in months, actually. You didn't save me. You weaponized me. Turned me into something useful and profitable and disposable. And when I'm no longer useful, I've never lied to you about what this was. No, you just buried the truth in legal documents I was too traumatized to read. Alara's voice was rising. Sarah died because of you. Hale died because of you. Marcus's sister was already dead and you used her corpse as leverage. How many more people have to die before I'm allowed to feel like this is wrong? As many as it takes to keep you alive. I don't want to be alive like this. The words echoed in the sudden silence. Cade stood, moved toward her, not threatening, but deliberate. You don't mean that. Yes, I do. I'd rather be dead than be this person, this thing you've turned me into. This thing saved you from obscurity, from poverty, from dying anonymous and forgotten in some studio apartment. At least I would have died as myself. You were already dying. I just gave you a reason to keep breathing. And now I'm suffocating. Cade's hand shot out, grabbed her wrist. Not hard enough to hurt, but firm enough to control. Listen to me very carefully. You can hate me. You can hate this life. You can hate every choice that brought you here. But you will not leave. Because if you do, I can't protect you. And I'm the only thing standing between you and a dozen people who want you dead or worse. Let them come. I don't care anymore. Yes, you do. You care about the formula, about your work, about proving Chen wrong, about being more than a victim. His grip tightened slightly. I know you, Alara, better than you know yourself right now. You're angry and scared and you want to run, but running is how you die. Staying is how you survive. Survival isn't living. No, but it's the prerequisite. Alara tried to pull away. He held firm. Let go of me. Not until you calm down. I am calm. I'm also done. With you. With this. With all of it. You're in shock. Gaines nearly had you killed. That trauma... Don't psychologize me. I'm not traumatized. I'm awake. Finally, actually awake. She met his eyes. You're just like Chen. You take people's brilliance and use it for your own ends. The only difference is you admit you're a monster. Something flickered across Cade's face. I've given you everything. You've given me a prison with nice furniture. I've given you purpose. You've given yourself a weapon. He released her wrist, stepped back. When he spoke again, his voice was cold. Fine. You want to leave? Leave. But understand what you're choosing. The moment you walk out that door, my protection ends. The resources. The security. The leverage I have with Rizzo and the others. All gone. You'll have maybe 12 hours before someone finds you, maybe less. Then I'll take my chances. You'll take nothing, because I'll make sure of it. Cade pulled out his phone. Nina, freeze all of Dr. Voss's accounts, all access, every asset we've provided. Done, Nina's voice came through. Alara's phone buzzed. Banking apps showing zero balances. Access denied. Locked out. Your apartment? My property. Your clothes? My money. Your phone? My network. You have exactly what you walked in here with 6 months ago. Nothing. Cade pocketed his phone. Still want to leave? Alara stared at him, really looked at him, saw him clearly for the first time. He wasn't her savior, he was her owner, and she'd signed the contract herself. Yeah, she said quietly, I still want to leave. She walked to the door. Cole still blocked it, looking to Cade for instruction. Let her go, Cade said. Cole stepped aside. Alara opened the door, stepped into the hallway, kept walking toward the elevator. Her heart was hammering. Every instinct screamed that this was insane, that Cade was right, that she was dead the moment she left this building. But staying meant accepting that she was property, accepting that her life had value only as long as she was useful, accepting that everything she'd fought for, everything she'd sacrificed, led to this, being owned. She'd rather die free than live as a thing. The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside, pressed the button for the lobby. The doors started to close, and then Cade's hand shot out, stopping them. One more thing, he said. Alara waited. Rizzo called while you were reading that contract. He wants a meeting, tomorrow, to discuss Gaines's betrayal and next steps. I told him you'd be there. Tell him I quit. He won't accept that, neither will Volkov. Neither will Tanaka. They're all invested in this now. They all expect delivery. And if you don't show up, if you disappear, they'll assume you've defected, taken the formula to a competitor. They'll hunt you down just to make sure you can't use it against them. Then I'll destroy the research, all of it. The research they've already paid for, the formula they've invested millions into developing, they'll see that as theft, breach of contract, an act of war. Cade leaned against the elevator door frame. You think leaving me is dangerous? Try leaving them. Alara felt trapped, caught in a web she hadn't seen being spun. What do you want from me? I want you to see reality. You're in this now, fully, completely. There's no exit that doesn't end in blood, yours, mine, or everyone's. So you can make a point by walking out and dying in some alley within a day, or you can survive. Your choice. The elevator started beeping. Door held too long. Alara looked at Cade, at the hallway behind him, at the elevator's glowing buttons. Every option led to the same place. She stepped back into the hallway. The elevator doors closed. Smart choice, Cade said. Don't call it smart. Call it trapped. Call it coerced. Don't call it a choice. Fine, you're trapped. Now what? Now. Alara took a breath that felt like swallowing glass. Now I finish the formula. I meet with Rizzo. I do exactly what you want. And when this is over, when I've fulfilled every obligation, delivered every result, completed every task, you let me go, for real. No contracts, no ownership clauses. You erase me from your world, and I erase myself from yours. And if I refuse, then I go to the FBI. Tell them everything. Rizzo, Volkov, Tanaka, all of it. I'll burn this entire operation to the ground and take myself down with it. Mutually assured destruction. Cade studied her for a long moment. Then he smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. You really have learned from me. He extended his hand. Deal. Finish the work, and you're free. Alara looked at his hand. Knew she shouldn't trust it. Knew this was probably another lie wrapped in plausible sincerity. She shook it anyway, because what choice did she have? None. She had no choices left at all. They walked back to the penthouse together. Nina was waiting with updated security protocols. Cole had already positioned additional guards. The machine kept running, indifferent to Alara's breakdown. The meeting with Rizzo is tomorrow at 8 p.m., Nina said. Same location as before. He wants to discuss replacement options for Gaines's investment and timeline for full production. I'll be ready, Alara said. Her voice sounded hollow even to her own ears. Good. Get some rest. Tomorrow's going to be intense. Rest, like that was possible. Alara went to the guest room, closed the door, stood in the middle of the expensive silence. Her phone buzzed. The unknown number again. You made the right choice, for now. But when the time comes, you'll have to choose again. Make sure you're ready. Alara stared at the message. Who was this? Who had access to her phone, her location, her decisions? She typed, "What do you want from me?" The response came immediately. The same thing you want, freedom. But freedom costs blood. The question is, whose? Before Alara could respond, the message thread deleted itself. Poof, gone like it never existed. She dropped the phone on the bed and pressed her palms against her eyes until she saw stars. Tomorrow, she would meet with Rizzo. Tomorrow, she would pretend everything was fine. Tomorrow, she would smile and present data and play the role of willing partner. But tonight, alone in this gilded cage, Alara Voss understood with perfect crystalline clarity that she was no longer the person who'd corrected a formula in a restaurant 6 months ago. That woman, idealistic, broken, desperate, was dead. What remained was something harder, something colder, something that understood the only way to survive monsters was to become one. And as she lay in the darkness, listening to her own heartbeat, Alara began to plan. Not escape. Escape was impossible, but revenge. Revenge was always possible, even if it meant burning everything to ash. Especially then. Sleep never came. Alara lay in the darkness, watching shadows move across the ceiling, her mind racing through possibilities like a rat in a maze with no exit. Every path led back to the same conclusion. She was trapped in a system designed to consume her. But systems had vulnerabilities. Even perfect ones. Especially perfect ones. At 4 a.m., she got out of bed and went to the penthouse's home office. The computer was locked, but she'd watched Nina use it enough times to know the password patterns. Third try got her in. She opened the encrypted files Nina had shown her weeks ago. Partnership agreements, distribution networks, financial flows. But this time, she wasn't looking at the obvious information. She was looking for gaps, inconsistencies, the places where the numbers didn't quite add up. And there, buried in a subsidiary ledger marked as equipment procurement, she found it. Payments, large ones, recurring monthly, to a shell company registered in the Cayman Islands. The amounts were consistent, $200,000, like clockwork, for the past 8 months. 8 months. That was 2 months before Alara had even started working for Cade. She dug deeper, traced the shell company through 3 more layers of corporate ownership until she hit a wall. The final owner was anonymized through a trust that would take subpoenas and months to penetrate. But the payment timing told her everything she needed to know. Someone had been on Cade's payroll long before this operation started. Someone positioned close enough to feed information out. Someone who'd probably helped orchestrate the entire chain of events that led to her recruitment. Alara's hands were shaking as she screenshotted the data, sent it to herself through an encrypted email service, then cleared the browser history. When she turned around, Cade was standing in the doorway. "Can't sleep?" His voice was calm, too calm. "No." "Me neither." He moved into the room, casual, like they'd just happened to meet at a coffee shop. "What are you working on?" "Reviewing synthesis notes. Tomorrow's meeting has me anxious." "Lying to me isn't smart, Alara." Her stomach dropped. "I'm not—" The computer logs every access, every file opened, every search query. He was behind her now, looking at the screen over her shoulder. "You've been looking at financial records. Why?" "No point in lying now." "Because something doesn't add up. These payments. They started before I was recruited. Someone's been feeding information to an outside party for months." "I know." Alara turned. "You know?" "Of course I know. I authorized them." "To whom?" "That's not your concern." "The hell it isn't. Someone in your organization has been compromising security for 8 months. That's how Gaines knew about Generation 2. That's how—" "Those payments aren't going to a trader," Cade interrupted. "They're going to insurance." "What kind of insurance?" He was quiet for a moment, then, "The kind that ensures if anything happens to me, certain information gets released. Bank records, transaction histories, names, addresses, everything that would bring down everyone at that table, Rizzo, Volkov, Tanaka, all of them. Mutually assured destruction. Exactly. They can't move against me without destroying themselves. It's why they haven't already cut me out and taken the formula by force. So who's receiving the payments? Someone outside the organization. Someone with no loyalty to anyone. Someone who'll execute the protocol automatically if the payments stop. Cade moved to the window. I told you I'd never lied to you. I haven't. But I've omitted things. Protected operational security. This is one of those things. Who is it? If I told you, they wouldn't be outside the organization anymore, would they? Alara felt her frustration rising. You don't trust me. I don't trust anyone. Trust is how you die. Then why keep me around? Why not just kill me and take the formula like that contract says you can? Cade turned from the window. His eyes were hard in the dim light. Because despite everything, despite the paranoia and the insurance policies and the weapons I keep pointed at everyone around me, you're more valuable alive than dead. Not because of what you know, because of what you can still create. Generation 3, 4? An infinite series of formulas until I'm used up? Until you're fulfilled. There's a difference. Not from where I'm standing. Then change your perspective. He moved closer. You think I'm using you? Fine. Use me back. You have access to resources most scientists dream about. Unlimited funding, no ethical oversight, no grant committees. You could develop anything, create anything, push boundaries that academia would never let you approach, and give you ownership of everything I make. In exchange for the freedom to make it, yes. Cade's voice was soft now, seductive. You're thinking too small. This isn't about one formula. This is about building something that outlasts both of us. A pipeline of innovations that changes the world, whether the world wants it or not. You're talking about playing God. I'm talking about not being afraid to. He was close enough now that she could smell his cologne. You've been powerless your entire career under Chen's thumb, under university bureaucracy, under a system that punished you for being brilliant. Here, you answer to no one but yourself. I answer to you. Only until the work is done. Then you're free. That was our deal. Alara wanted to believe him. Some part of her, the part that still remembered what it felt like to discover something new, to see a reaction work perfectly, to hold pure product and know she'd created it, wanted desperately to believe that this could be about science instead of survival. But she'd believed too many men before, and it had cost her everything. I'm going back to bed, she said. Cade didn't move. You're planning something. I'm planning to survive tomorrow's meeting. No, you're planning something else. I can see it in your eyes. That look, like you've made a decision I'm not going to like. Then you'll find out when I make it. She pushed past him, went back to the guest room, locked the door. Not that locks mattered, not in this place, not with Cade, but the illusion of privacy was better than nothing. She pulled out her phone. The encrypted email was there, waiting. Screenshots of those mysterious payments. Evidence of something, she wasn't sure what yet, but something. Another message appeared from the unknown number. You found them. Good. Now ask yourself, why would Cade need insurance against his own partners unless he was planning to betray them? Alara's blood went cold. She typed back, Who are you? Someone who wants the same thing you do, to watch this empire burn. Why help me? Because you're the only one who can do it. You have the formula, the knowledge, the access. And now, the motivation. What do you want in return? When the time comes, I'll tell you. For now, just survive tomorrow. The game is about to change. The message thread deleted itself again. Alara sat on the bed, heart hammering. Someone was playing a deeper game. Someone with resources, intelligence, and an agenda that aligned with hers, at least for now. She should tell Cade. She wouldn't tell Cade, because whoever this was, they were right about one thing. The only way out was through fire, and fire was coming. The day of the meeting arrived with oppressive humidity that made the city feel like a pressure cooker about to explode. Alara spent the morning in the lab, running final verification tests on the Generation 2 synthesis. Everything worked perfectly. Yields consistent. Purity exceptional. A formula worth billions. A formula that had already cost lives. Nina arrived at noon with the same black dress from the last meeting. Wear this. Hair up. Diamonds again. I'm a chemist, not a showpiece. Tonight you're both. By 7 p.m., Alara was dressed, made up, looking like someone who belonged in Cade's world instead of resenting every second of it. The necklace sat cold against her throat. A reminder. A caller. The car ride to the restaurant was silent. Cole drove. Cade sat beside her in the back, reviewing something on his tablet. Nina had gone ahead to coordinate security. "Are you ready?" Cade asked without looking up. "As ready as I'll ever be." "That's not an answer. It's the only one I have." He finally looked at her. "Rizzo will push tonight. He wants control of the formula. He'll offer money, partnerships, threats, whatever he thinks will work. You need to stay solid, show no weakness." "I know how to handle myself." "Do you? Because last night you were ready to walk out, ready to die rather than stay. That's not the mindset of someone who can negotiate with predators." "Maybe I'm tired of negotiating." "Then what are you planning to do instead?" Alara met his eyes. "Whatever it takes to survive." "That's what worries me." They arrived at the restaurant, the same place where she'd first corrected that formula 6 months ago. Full circle. The staff were different, but the atmosphere was identical. Expensive, exclusive, weaponized politeness. Rizzo was already in the private room. So were Volkov and Tanaka. 3 empty chairs remained, one for Cade, one for Alara, and one that stayed conspicuously vacant. Gaines's chair. "Adrian, Dr. Voss." Rizzo stood, all charm and teeth. "Please sit. We have much to discuss." They sat. The atmosphere was glacial, despite Rizzo's smile. "First," Rizzo began, "let's address the obvious. Patricia Gaines will not be joining us. Ever again. Her betrayal was dealt with appropriately." "How appropriately?" Volkov asked. His accent was thicker tonight, words heavy. "Permanently. The details are unpleasant and unnecessary." Rizzo's eyes found Alara. "Dr. Voss, you should know. Senator Gaines's final words were about you. She seemed to think you were the key to everything. Was she right?" Alara's throat was dry. "The formula requires specific expertise. I have that expertise. And if something were to happen to you, then the formula becomes significantly harder to replicate. Possible, but time-consuming. Expensive. But not impossible. Nothing is impossible with enough resources and patience." "Patience," Rizzo smiled. "That's not my strongest quality." Which brings us to tonight's actual business. Adrian, you've delivered on the Generation 2 compound. The demonstrations, aside from the unfortunate sabotage, were impressive, but I'm concerned about long-term viability. "In what way?" Cade's voice was neutral. "In the way that your organization has proven vulnerable. First Hale's manipulation, then Gaines's betrayal. How many more traitors are waiting to surface? How many more disruptions before this entire operation collapses? The weaknesses have been identified and addressed. Have they? Or have you just eliminated the symptoms while the disease spreads?" Rizzo leaned forward. "I'm proposing a restructure. Full operational control transfers to a neutral party, someone without existing loyalties or agendas, someone who can manage the production and distribution without the baggage." "Who did you have in mind?" Cade asked, though his tone suggested he already knew. "Me." Silence dropped like a blade. "You want to take over the operation," Cade said flatly. "I want to secure my investment. Currently, everything depends on you maintaining control. But control is fragile. I'm offering stability." "By cutting me out." "By assuming primary authority while compensating you fairly. You'd maintain a percentage. Dr. Voss would continue her work under my supervision. Everyone profits. Except I lose control. Control is an illusion, Adrian. You've been operating under that illusion for months while your organization crumbled around you. I'm offering reality." Cade's hands were flat on the table, very still, very controlled. "And if I refuse, then we dissolve the partnership. I take my investments elsewhere. So does Dmitri. So does Yuki. You're left with a formula you can't commercialize alone and enemies you've made along the way." Rizzo's smile was sharp. "Your choice, of course. But choose quickly. My patience, as I mentioned, is limited." Volkov spoke next. "Adrian, this is reasonable offer. You keep profits. We keep stability. Everyone wins." "Do we?" Cade looked at Alara. "Dr. Voss, what do you think?" Every eye turned to her. This was a test. A trap. Whatever she said would determine whose side she was on and who would survive the night. Alara took a breath. I think the formula is mine. Not yours. Not Rizzo's. Mine. I created it. I refined it. I've given my work to this organization under specific terms. If those terms change, so does my cooperation. You don't have a choice, Rizzo said quietly. My contract is with Cade, not with you. If he loses control, that contract becomes void, which means you get nothing. We can renegotiate. With what leverage? You going to threaten me? Kill me? Then you definitely get nothing. The formula is in my head, the critical steps, the optimizations, the variants, all of it. Kill me and you have an expensive paperweight. Tanaka spoke for the first time, her voice soft but cutting. You're very confident for someone so exposed. Mr. Rizzo controls resources you can't imagine. If he wanted information from you, there are methods. Torture? Please. I'm a scientist. I'll tell you whatever you want under duress. Wrong formulas, bad data, synthesis pathways that look perfect and fail catastrophically. You'll waste months figuring out I lied, maybe years. Alara's voice was steady. The only way this works is if I choose to cooperate, and I choose to work with Cade. Those are my terms. Rizzo studied her like a bug under glass. Adrian, your chemist has teeth. I'm impressed. She's learned from experience, Cade said. Clearly. But Dr. Voss, you're misunderstanding the situation. This isn't a negotiation about your preferences. This is about reality. Adrian's control is ending, tonight, whether he agrees or not, whether you cooperate or not. The only question is how painful the transition becomes. Alara felt ice spreading through her veins. You're threatening us. I'm stating facts. I have people positioned throughout Adrian's organization, his security, his facilities, his supply chains. If I give the word, everything he's built collapses in hours. His people become my people. His assets become my assets. And you, Dr. Voss, become my chemist. Like hell I do. You will. Because the alternative is watching everyone you've worked with die. Starting with Adrian. Cade still hadn't moved. His face was a mask. But Alara could see the calculation behind his eyes. He'd expected this. Maybe not tonight. Maybe not this direct. But he'd known it was coming. You've been planning this for months, Cade said. Since before Gaines. Since before Hale. Since the first dinner, Rizzo confirmed. You're brilliant, Adrian, but you're not Emperor material. You think too small. Local operations, regional control. I'm offering you a chance to be part of something global, or you can refuse and become irrelevant. Dead. Either works for me. Volkov and Tanaka were both nodding. United front. This had been coordinated. Alara's mind raced. If Rizzo had compromised Cade's organization this thoroughly, if he really controlled the people and resources he claimed, then fighting was suicide. Cade would lose. She'd be absorbed into Rizzo's operation. The formula would be commercialized under his control. Everything she'd fought for, every compromise, every moral boundary crossed, would be for nothing. Unless... Mr. Rizzo, she said, before you finalize this coup, there's something you should know about the formula. Everyone looked at her. What? Rizzo asked. It's incomplete. Cade's head turned sharply. Alara? The Generation 2 synthesis I demonstrated? It works, but it's not optimized. The yields are acceptable for lab scale, but they'll drop significantly in industrial production. The catalyst degrades. The reaction becomes inconsistent. Within 6 months of commercial manufacture, you'll be producing garbage. You're lying, Rizzo said. Am I? Check the data. The batch-to-batch variation is small now because I'm personally supervising every step. But scale it up, hand it to technicians, remove my direct involvement, and watch the quality collapse. Alara pulled out her tablet, brought up synthesis records. See? Batch 7, 91% yield. Batch 8, 86%. Batch 9, 92%. That's a 6% swing. In a lab, that's acceptable. In production, that's millions of dollars of wasted material. Vamos inispan. Tanaka was already studying the numbers. She's right. This variation would be catastrophic at scale. So fix it, Rizzo said. I can, but it requires development time, resources, and cooperation. Alara met his eyes. You take over tonight. You get a formula that's worth billions in theory and millions in practice. You let Cade maintain control, give me 6 more months, and I'll deliver something that actually works commercially. 6 months is a long time. Science doesn't care about your schedule. Rizzo looked at Cade. Is she telling the truth? I don't know. She doesn't share every detail with me. Convenient. Smart, Cade corrected. If I knew everything, I wouldn't need her. The fact that she's irreplaceable is what makes her valuable. Rizzo leaned back, thinking. The room waited. Finally, 6 months. But with conditions. I place my own people inside the operation. Financial oversight. Production monitoring. Full transparency. And if Dr. Voss is lying, if this is a delay tactic, then both of you pay with considerably more than money. Agreed, Cade said before Alara could respond. Dr. Voss, Rizzo asked. She wanted to refuse, wanted to tell him to go to hell, but she just bought them time. 6 months to figure out an actual escape. 6 months to find leverage. 6 months to burn it all down. Agreed, she said. Excellent, Rizzo stood. Then we're done here. Dmitri, Yuki, let's discuss implementation details. Adrian, Dr. Voss, you'll receive your new protocols tomorrow. Follow them precisely. He left. Volkov and Tanaka followed. The room emptied until only Alara and Cade remained. Cade turned to her slowly. That was either brilliant or catastrophic. I can't tell which yet. The formula variation is real. I wasn't lying about that. But you implied it's unfixable without you. Is it? Honestly? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. But I bought us 6 months. Us. Cade's voice was quiet. 2 hours ago, you wanted out. Now you're saying us. 2 hours ago, I had options. Now Rizzo's taken them all. If we're trapped, we might as well be trapped together. Very practical. Survival usually is. Cade was quiet for a moment. Then, the insurance payments I told you about? The dead man switch that releases information. If something happens to me? What about it? It doesn't exist. Alara felt the floor drop away. What? The payments are real. But they're not going to insurance. They're going to someone inside Rizzo's organization. Someone feeding me intelligence about his plans. Someone who told me this coup was coming. You knew. This whole time, you knew he was going to move against you tonight. Yes. Then why didn't you prepare? Why let him think he'd won? Because I needed him confident, overconfident, believing he'd successfully infiltrated my operation when really I've been feeding him controlled information for months. Everything he thinks he knows about my resources, my security, my vulnerabilities, it's what I wanted him to know. Alara stared at him. You're playing a deeper game. I'm playing the only game that matters. The long one. Cade's eyes were hard. 6 months from now, when Rizzo thinks he's consolidated power, when he's moved his own resources into positions of vulnerability, when he's completely invested in this formula, that's when everything changes. Changes how? Depends on whether you're with me or against me. I thought I didn't have a choice. You don't. But I'm curious which side you'll choose when you realize you do. Before Alara could respond, Nina appeared in the doorway. Her face was pale. We have a problem. What kind? Cade asked. Cole's dead. The words hit like physical blows. What? Alara heard herself say. How? Car accident. 30 minutes ago. His vehicle went off the road on his way back from the perimeter check. No skid marks. No evidence of mechanical failure. Just drove straight off a bridge. Suicide? Cade's voice was flat. Or remote override. His car was new, fully computerized. Someone with the right access could have... Who has that access? Automotive manufacturers, government agencies, or anyone who hired someone with the right skills. Rizzo. Most likely. Cade was already moving. Security protocols, now. Every vehicle gets inspected. Every electronic system checked. Nobody moves alone. Nobody leaves without clearance. Nina was typing rapidly. Done. But Adrian, if Rizzo's willing to kill Cole as a message, then the 6 months we just negotiated might be a lie. He might be planning to eliminate us the moment we're no longer useful. Cade turned to Alara. Which means we need to move faster. The formula optimization you promised? How fast can you actually deliver it? I told you 6 months minimum. I don't have 6 months. Cole's dead. That's a declaration. Rizzo's making moves. I need leverage now. I can't manufacture science on demand. Then manufacture something else. Fake it. Make it look like you're ahead of schedule. Give me something to work with. You want me to lie again? I want you to survive. Same as you. Alara's head was spinning. Cole was dead. Gentle, quiet Cole who'd protected her for months. Who'd driven her to the safe house. Who'd never asked questions or judged. Dead because Rizzo wanted to send a message. How many more would die before this ended? I need to think, she said. Think fast. We don't have time for philosophical debates. Alara walked out of the restaurant into the humid night. The rain had started again, heavy, relentless, turning the street into a river. She stood under the awning, letting the noise wash over her. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Cole's death wasn't an accident. It was a test. Rizzo is measuring Cade's response. How he reacts will determine whether you have 6 months or 6 days. Alara's hand shook as she typed. What should I do? Trust no one. Not even Cade. He's using you the same way Rizzo wants to. The only difference is packaging. Then who do I trust? Yourself. Your science. And when the time comes, me. Why won't you tell me who you are? Because if you knew, you'd try to save me. And I don't need saving. I need you to destroy them all. The message deleted itself. Cade emerged from the restaurant. Are you okay? No. She wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. Cole was a good person, she said. Yes. He didn't deserve to die. No one deserves anything. Things just happen. That's a bleak philosophy. It's the only honest one. They stood in the rain, not touching, separated by about 3 feet and an infinite gulf of mistrust. What happens now? Alara asked. Now, we go back to the penthouse. You work on the formula. I work on keeping us alive. And we both pray we're faster than Rizzo's timeline. And if we're not, then we die. Together or separately, doesn't matter much which. The car pulled up. Different driver. Cole's replacement already in place. The machine kept running. It always did. They drove through the rain-soaked city in silence. Alara watched the lights blur past and thought about Cole, about Sarah, about Victor Hale, about Marcus and his dead sister, about all the people consumed by this formula, about how many more would follow before it ended. When they reached the penthouse, Nina was waiting with updated security reports. Threats assessed, vulnerabilities mapped, countermeasures implemented, all very professional, all very useless if Rizzo had truly compromised the organization as thoroughly as he claimed. I'm going to the lab, Alara said. It's nearly midnight, Nina pointed out. Science doesn't sleep. She took the car to the lab facility. Her replacement security, a woman named Torres who looked like she could snap Alara in half, came along. They rode in silence. The lab was dark, empty, exactly as she'd left it that morning. Alara turned on the lights, booted up her workstation, and stared at the synthesis data. The formula variation she'd told Rizzo about was real, but it wasn't unfixable. She'd already solved it 3 weeks ago. The optimized synthesis was sitting in her encrypted files, fully documented, ready for production. She'd kept it hidden because something had told her to hold back, to maintain leverage. Now that leverage was the only thing keeping her alive. Alara pulled up the files, reviewed the data. The optimized process was beautiful. Consistent yields, minimal variation, perfect for industrial scale. Everything Rizzo wanted, everything Cade needed, everything she could use to destroy them both. She copied the files to 3 separate encrypted drives. One she hid in the lab, one she kept on her person, one she uploaded to a cloud server using credentials that existed only in her head. Insurance. Then she started building something else, a variant of the formula. One that looked identical to the optimized version but contained a subtle flaw, a degradation pathway that wouldn't manifest for months. By the time anyone noticed, production would be compromised. Millions of dollars wasted, reputations destroyed, the perfect poison pill. It took her 4 hours to code the chemistry correctly, to make it look natural, inevitable, like an unavoidable consequence of the molecular structure rather than deliberate sabotage. By 4 a.m., she had 2 versions of Generation 2, the real one, and the weapon. Her phone buzzed. Cade, come back to the penthouse. We need to talk. Alara stared at the message, then at her screens, then at the 3 encrypted drives. She pocketed 2 of the drives, left one hidden in the lab. Then she went to face whatever was coming next. The penthouse was dark when she arrived, except for one lamp in the living room. Cade sat beneath it, drinking something that looked like whiskey, wearing the same clothes from dinner but disheveled now. Human. Sit, he said. She sat. Nina's gone, Cade said. Left about an hour ago. Didn't say where. Isn't answering her phone. Alara's stomach dropped. You think she's defected? I think something's wrong. Nina doesn't disappear. She's been with me for 6 years. Loyal, reliable. And now she's ghost. Maybe Rizzo got to her. Maybe. Or maybe someone else did. Cade drained his glass. Everyone has a price. I thought I knew Nina's. Apparently I was wrong. What are you going to do? Find her. And if she's betrayed me, kill her, same as anyone else. Just like that? Just like that. Cade looked at her. You're surprised? I'm tired of being surprised. At this point, nothing you do would shock me. Good. Because I need you to do something that's going to shock you. What? I need you to approach Rizzo directly, without me. Without security, just you and him. Alara's blood went cold. Why? Because he trusts you more than he trusts me. You impressed him tonight. The way you stood up, the way you negotiated. He sees you as independent, pragmatic, someone he can work with. You want me to defect. I want you to appear to defect. Convince Rizzo you're done with me. That you want to work directly with him. Get inside his operation. Feed me intelligence. That's insane. That's survival. He'll see through it. Not if you sell it properly. And you're good at selling. You sold him on Generation 2, sold him on the 6-month timeline. You can sell him on this. Alara stood. No. No? I'm not doing it. I'm not walking into Rizzo's territory alone. I'm not playing double agent in a game I barely understand. You're not what? Willing to do what's necessary to survive? Because that's what this is. Rizzo is moving. Cade is compromised. The only way through is intelligence, and you're the only one positioned to get it. Find someone else. There is no one else. Cole's dead. Nina's gone. My organization is either disloyal or dead. You're all I have left. That's not my problem. Cade stood, moved close. Yes, it is. Because if I fall, Rizzo owns you. Completely. Forever. At least if you're feeding me information, you have leverage. Options. A chance. A chance to get killed. Better than a certainty of slavery. Alara wanted to argue, wanted to find the flaw in his logic. But he was right. If Cade went down, she was exposed. Vulnerable. Rizzo would absorb her and everything she'd created, unless she positioned herself first. If I do this, she said slowly, I want something in return. Name it. The contract. The one that says you own my work if I die. I want it voided. Now. Tonight. Witnessed and legally binding. Done. And when this is over, when Rizzo's handled, I want out. For real. No strings, no obligations, no ownership clauses. Complete separation. Cade studied her. You'll have it. In writing. In writing. He pulled out his phone, made a call. 30 minutes later, a lawyer arrived. Different from Marcus, the one from that first dinner. This one was younger, sharper, carrying a briefcase that probably cost more than a car. They drafted the amendment right there in the living room. Simple language. Clean terms. The intellectual property ownership clause was removed. Alara's work belonged to her. When the Rizzo situation was resolved, she could walk away. She read it 3 times before signing. Cade signed without reading. The lawyer witnessed, notarized, departed. There, Cade said. You're free, pending one small detail. Rizzo. Rizzo. Alara looked at the document in her hands. Legal freedom. Contractual independence. Everything she'd wanted since the moment she signed that first agreement, and all it cost was one more gamble with her life. When do I approach him? She asked. Tomorrow. I'll set up the meeting. Make it look like you requested it, like you're reaching out behind my back. And what do I tell him? The truth. That you're tired of being caught between warring criminals. That you want stability, protection. a chance to actually do science instead of playing politics, that you'll give him the optimized formula in exchange for safety. He'll want proof. Give him some, not the full optimization, just enough to demonstrate progress. Make him hungry. Elara thought about the 2 drives in her pocket, the real formula and the poison pill. Okay, she said. I'll do it. Cade nodded. Get some sleep. Tomorrow changes everything. She went to the guest room, lay down fully clothed, stared at the ceiling. Sleep was impossible. Tomorrow she would walk into the lion's den. Tomorrow she would lie to the most dangerous man she'd ever met. Tomorrow she would bet everything on a gamble she didn't fully understand. But tonight, alone in the darkness, Elara understood something else. She wasn't Cade's pawn anymore. She wasn't Rizzo's target. She was the weapon, and weapons decided where they pointed. Her phone buzzed one last time. Unknown number. You're making the right moves. But remember, when you meet Rizzo tomorrow, he'll ask you one question. A test. Your answer will determine whether you live or die. Choose carefully. What question? You'll know it when you hear it. And Elara, trust your instincts, not your logic, your instincts. The message deleted. Elara closed her eyes and tried to quiet her mind, but all she could think about was Cole's empty chair, Sarah's car crash, Victor Hale's desperate smile, Marcus's dead sister, all the ghosts that followed this formula. And tomorrow, she would walk into the darkness and risk becoming one herself. The only question was whether she'd come back, or whether the darkness would finally claim what it had been hunting since the moment she'd whispered those fatal words. That's the wrong compound. Everything that had happened since, every death, every betrayal, every compromise, had spiraled out from that one moment of truth. Now she was about to speak another truth, and this one would either save her or end her. No middle ground, no safety, just the precipice. And the fall. The morning came too fast. Elara woke to gray light filtering through expensive curtains, and the taste of copper in her mouth from where she'd bitten her cheek during fitful sleep. Her phone showed 3 messages from Cade, all sent in the last hour. The first, meeting confirmed, Rizzo's private office, 2 p.m. The second, go alone. Torres will drop you 3 blocks away. Walk the rest. The third, whatever happens, remember, you're the only leverage we have left. Elara stared at that last message. Not, I have left. We. Like they were partners. Like they were in this together. Maybe they were. Maybe that was the saddest part. She showered in water hot enough to hurt, dressed in clothes that made her look professional instead of terrified, and went to face Cade in the kitchen. He was making coffee with the careful precision of someone trying to control the only thing he could. You didn't sleep, she said. Neither did you. Fair point. He poured 2 cups, handed her one. The gesture felt almost domestic, almost normal, if you ignored everything else. Nina's still gone, Cade said. 12 hours, no contact, no trace. You think she's dead? I think she's smart and scared people do stupid things. He took a drink. Or she was always Rizzo's, playing me from the beginning. Either way, she's a liability now. What will you do if you find her? Depends on what she tells me before I kill her. Elara's hand tightened on her cup. You're very casual about murder. I'm very tired of pretending it bothers me. They stood in the kitchen, drinking coffee, waiting for time to pass. Outside, the city was waking up. Traffic sounds, distant sirens, the machinery of normal life grinding forward while theirs spiraled toward catastrophe. The question, Elara said suddenly, the one Rizzo's going to ask, do you know what it is? Cade looked at her. No, but whoever's been texting you does. You know about that. I know everything that happens on that phone. I built the encryption, Elara. You think I can't monitor it? Then who's sending the messages? Someone with access to systems they shouldn't have, someone who knows more than they should, someone who's been playing both sides. Cade set down his cup. My guess? Nina. The pieces clicked together. Nina's sudden disappearance, the message's intimate knowledge of operations, the warnings that came just in time. She's trying to help me, Elara said. She's trying to survive. You're her best chance at that. Why? Because you're the only one Rizzo can't easily replace. Kill me, he finds another distributor. Kill Nina, he finds another administrator. Kill you? Cade's smile was thin. He has to start over. 4 years of development minimum. Maybe more. You're too valuable to eliminate quickly. So I'm bait. You're insurance for everyone. Alara thought about the drives in her pocket. The real formula and the poison pill. 2 futures. 2 possibilities. What if I give him the real optimization? She asked quietly. Then you lose your only leverage. He takes it, kills me, absorbs you into his operation, and you spend the rest of your life making him richer. And if I give him the corrupted version, then he discovers it eventually, blames you, kills you slowly. Same outcome, different timeline. So I'm dead either way. Not if you play it right. Give him enough to stay useful, not enough to be disposable. Walk the line until we find an opening. What opening? I don't know yet, but it's there. It's always there. Cade checked his watch. You should go. Torres is waiting. Alara finished her coffee, set down the cup, looked at Cade standing in his expensive kitchen in his expensive penthouse with his expensive problems that were about to get them both killed. If this goes wrong, she started. It won't. But if it does, if Rizzo sees through this, then you adapt. You're brilliant at chemistry and average at lying, but desperation makes everyone convincing. Use that. Use my terror to Silicon. Great advice. Best I've got. She walked to the door. Torres was indeed waiting, impassive as stone. They rode the elevator down in silence, got into a different car, Cade cycling vehicles like a fugitive, which he probably was. The drive took 30 minutes through midday traffic. Torres dropped her exactly 3 blocks from Rizzo's office building, a sleek tower in the financial district that looked like every other monument to wealth. Good luck, Torres said, the first word she'd spoken all morning. Thanks. Alara walked the 3 blocks alone. Each step felt heavier than the last. People passed her on the sidewalk, businessmen with briefcases, mothers with strollers, teenagers skipping school, normal people living normal lives. She'd been one of them once, a lifetime ago. Rizzo's building had the kind of lobby that whispered money, marble floors, abstract art, a reception desk staffed by people who looked like models. Alara gave her name. They were expecting her. An assistant appeared, young and efficient, led her to a private elevator that required a key card. They rode up in silence. 47th floor. The doors opened onto a corridor with a single door at the end. Mr. Rizzo is waiting, the assistant said, then vanished back into the elevator. Alara stood alone in the hallway, took a breath, knocked. Come in. Rizzo's office was massive, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, furniture that cost more than most people's houses, walls lined with art that was probably stolen or worse. And Rizzo himself sitting behind a desk that looked carved from a single piece of dark wood, wearing a suit that fit like a threat. Dr. Voss, thank you for coming. Thank you for seeing me. Please, sit. She sat in a chair that was positioned lower than his. Power dynamics. Everything in this room was calculated. Rizzo studied her for a long moment. You requested this meeting. Why? Here it was, the performance, the con, the desperate gamble. Because I'm tired, Alara said. Tired of being caught between you and Cade, tired of politics, tired of watching people die for a formula that should be saving lives instead of ending them. Noble sentiment, but you knew what this was when you signed on. I knew I was desperate, ruined, willing to do anything for a second chance. Cade offered that. But working for him, it's like working for a bomb. You never know when it's going to explode and take everyone nearby with it. And working for me would be different? Would it? Rizzo smiled. Honest question. I appreciate that. Yes, it would be different. I'm not idealistic. I don't make promises I can't keep. I offer stability, structure, a machine that runs efficiently because everyone knows their role and the consequences of deviation. Sounds like a prison. Prison is a matter of perspective. Some people need walls to feel safe, and some people need freedom to breathe. Which are you? Alara met his eyes. I used to think I needed freedom. 4 years in academia fighting for recognition, fighting Chen, fighting institutional politics. I thought that was noble, pure. Turns out it was just another kind of prison. At least in your machine, the rules are clear. You're very pragmatic for a scientist. Science is pragmatic. Nature doesn't care about morality, just outcomes. Rizzo leaned back. Adrian sent you here, to spy, to feed him intelligence. Alara's heart stopped. No, don't insult me with denials. Of course he did. It's exactly what I'd do in his position. Use the asset everyone wants, the one person I'd have to see personally. Rizzo's smile widened. But here's the interesting part. You're actually considering it, not the spying, the defection. I can see it in your eyes. You're calculating whether I'm a better bet than him. This was the test, the question Nina had warned about. Everyone's calculating all the time, Alara said carefully. It's how we survive. Indeed, so let me make the calculation simple. I'm offering you a choice. Real choice, not the illusion Adrian trades in. Work for me, directly, exclusively. I'll triple whatever he's paying you, give you better facilities, better security, and most importantly, I'll give you something he can't. What's that? A future. Adrian's organization is collapsing. Maybe not today, maybe not this month, but it's dying. I've hollowed it out from the inside. Within 6 months, he'll have nothing left except pride and corpses. You can go down with him, or you can step off the sinking ship while there's still time. And in exchange, the optimized formula, the real one, not the 6-month timeline you sold us at dinner. I know you're further along than you admitted. Give me the complete synthesis, today, right now. And this nightmare ends. You get money, safety, and the ability to actually practice science instead of playing survivor. Alara's hand went to her pocket. The 2 drives, the 2 futures. This was it. The moment everything hinged on. Give him the real formula and betray Cade completely. Become Rizzo's chemist, survive in a gilded cage, or give him the poison pill and buy time. Maybe weeks, maybe only days before it was discovered, or do something else entirely. Before I answer, Alara said, I have a question. Ask. Cole, Adrian's head of security, did you kill him? Rizzo's expression didn't change. Yes? Why? To demonstrate resolve, to show Adrian I could reach his people whenever I wanted, to accelerate